Chapter 473. Slap. A crisp sound rang out in the hall. The entire hall fell into an eerie silence because of the sound of the slap. It was so quiet that a suffocating atmosphere filled the hall. Exit. Master Ning looked at his hand and then at the blushing Ning Exit. His eyes were filled with vexation and heartache. Father, just now, am I wrong? The corners of Ning Xianxia's lips curl up into a mocking smile. Her disheveled hair falls to the side of her face, covering the bright red handprint. It was because of your indecisiveness that caused Mother to be killed by another woman. So what if you disband your own family in the end? My mother's life can no longer be saved. You keep saying that you're doing this for my own good, but unfortunately, you've never understood what I really want. Could it be that after so many years, you still haven't come to your senses? Patriarch Ning opened his mouth and wanted to explain, but his throat seemed to be squeezed by a hand, and he couldn't make a sound. Then, he clutched his head tightly and said in agony, "That's right, I was indeed too indecisive that year and caused your mother's death. But I've been sad for so many years. Isn't that enough? All these years, I haven't married because of you and your mother. I've done so much and you're still not willing to forgive me for what I've done?" He felt a heart-wrenching pain at the thought of what had happened all those years ago. But no matter how heartbroken he was, the woman he loved could never return to his side. "You've always been thinking about the family, but you've never thought about my mother and me. What we want has never been absolute power or supreme status. I just want to live like an ordinary person." Ning Xian closed her eyes in disappointment and smiled bitterly. "Unfortunately, you only know how to do things that I can't tolerate in the name of doing what's best for me. All these years, Grandfather and I have been running all over the place because we didn't want to see you. Even living in seclusion in the mountains is better than facing people like you." When she said the last sentence, she suddenly opened her eyes. Her bright eyes were filled with determination, causing family head Ning's heart to suddenly tremble. "That's right. I'm indeed thinking for the sake of the clan. Is that wrong?" Clan head Ning smiled bitterly. "Who asked me to be the clan head? I will fight for the Ning family. Plus, your grandfather has always worshipped godly Dr. Tianya. If he knew that you wanted to marry into the Tian family, he wouldn't reject." Ning Xian sneered and shot a cold glare at Tian Lin, who was staring at her in a daze. "I told you I won't marry anyone else. Even if I die, I will never let the Tian family get my corpse." "Do." Master Ning pointed a finger at Ning Xian angrily. "Xian, you're really too immature. Let me tell you, today you must marry someone from the Tian family." As the head of the Ning family, even if he was reluctant to part with his daughter, he had to fight for more benefits for the family. This was the sorrow of being a family head. Just like how he had caused the death of his beloved woman, Ning Xian's lips curled into a smile and her eyes filled with disdain. She took one last look at Master Ning before she turned around and walked towards the door. At this moment, her heart was filled with disappointment. "Don't go." Seeing that Ning Xian was about to leave, Tian Lin's expression changed and he hurriedly said, "Hurry and stop her." Chapter 474. "Yes, young master." The members of the Tian clan answered one after another and quickly rushed towards Ning Xian, wanting to stop her from leaving. "Scram!" Ning Xian shouted loudly. Suddenly, a burst of spiritual energy erupted from her body, forcing the guards who had extended their hands towards her to take a few steps back. Ning Xian. Seeing Ning Xian attack the members of the Tian clan, the Ning family head turned pale with fright. Just as he was about to reprimand her, he saw the young girl's body fall towards the ground. Xian. Master Ning no longer cared about reprimanding Ning Xian and hurriedly stepped forward to pull Ning Xian back. However, just as he was about to step forward, a hand reached out to catch the young girl's body and pulled her into a tight embrace. The man's black hair fluttered in the wind, and his crescent robe fluttered slightly. His handsome face was cold as he stared coldly at the Ning family head in front of him. "Big brother Yun." Ning Xian was startled. Her eyes quietly stared at the elegant man beside her, and her voice unconsciously choked with sobs. Facing her father's aggressiveness, she did not feel wronged, but now that she saw Yun Xianxia, all of her grievances surged into her heart. She could not help but tightly grab onto the corner of his clothes. Xianxia's gaze fell on the young girl's flushed cheeks. His slender fingers gently brushed past her hair as he said in a slightly helpless tone, "Why didn't you wait for me and ran out of the room by yourself?" Although his words were filled with reproach, it still could not hide the doting tone of the man's words. Suddenly, Ning Xen could no longer hold back her tears, and they flowed down her cheeks. "I'm sorry, big brother Yun, you have nothing to do with me. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid the one who would be heavily injured in bed would be me." Xianxia smiled faintly. His smile was like a blooming green lotus, making people feel happy. Bang! After Tianke looked at the person who came with Xianxia, she suddenly stood up. Even the chair behind her was accidentally overturned by her. Her eyes were filled with anger. "It's you!" Tianke gritted her teeth hatefully. "Yun Luofeng, it really is a narrow road for enemies. I didn't expect to meet you here. Previously, you were pregnant with my good deed, yet you still dared to deliver it to me." Hearing Tianke's words, Clan Head Ning was a little surprised. Could it be that Yun Luofeng had some grudges with the Tian family? In that case, it would be even more difficult to deal with. Yun Luofeng glanced at Tianke evilly. "I was the one who came to the Ning family first. According to what you said, you were the one who delivered yourself to my doorstep to be beaten up by me. Yun Luofeng, last time, if it wasn't for the fact that Tianyu had an urgent matter to attend to and had to leave, do you think you could have escaped from us? In reality, the last time, Tianyu had pulled Tianku away in a hurry because she had felt threatened by Yun Xiao. However, under such circumstances, Tianku would never say such a thing. Hence, she came up with such an excuse. Since I can make you flee once, there will be a second time. Ning Xian is my future second aunt. I want to see who can take her away." As she spoke, the girl's domineering aura was fully displayed, and her eyes were filled with arrogance and arrogance. Ning Xian's originally nervous heart miraculously calmed down when she saw Yun Luofeng and Yun Qingya appear. Of these two people, one was her most trusted friend, and the other was the man she liked. She believed that as long as they were here, no matter what kind of difficulty it was, it would be easily solved. "Miss Yun," Clan Head Ning frowned. A hint of worry could be seen in his eyes. "The Tian family has Tianya behind them. It's better if you don't get into a dispute with them. Apologize, and I will plead for you to let the Tian family let you off." Chapter 475. Even though Patriarch Ning would not let Ning Xen marry Yun Qingya, Yun Luofeng had saved Ning Xian's life. He did not want anything to happen to the Yun family. The Tian family was different from the medical city. Tianya was too powerful. If she offended that old man, no one could protect her. "Why should my master apologize?" Xiaobai, who had just arrived, heard Patriarch Ning's words. She angrily put her hands on her hips and her cute little face flushed red. "You ignorant people, even if Tianya comes, you have to call my master master. You actually dare to ask my master to apologize?" Tianku could not hold it in and laughed out loud. Her eyes were full of mockery. "Little girl, didn't your parents tell you that if you boast, your tongue will be cut off? If you said that Yun Luofeng acknowledged Tianya as his master, I might have believed it. But you dare to say that Tianya also has to call her master? Do you think we're stupid? Would we believe such nonsense?" Hearing this, the crowd began to ridicule Lin Ruobai, their eyes filled with disdain as they looked at him. Yun Luofeng also looked at Lin Ruobai in surprise. A hint of contemplation appeared in his dark eyes. Xiaobai was not someone who would boast. Since she said such words, there must be a reason. But she did not know Tianya, so how could she take him in as a disciple? Speaking of taking in a disciple, there was once an old man who claimed that he wanted to take her as his master. Could it be? I'm telling the truth. Right now, Tianya is on his way. He will reach the Ning family soon. Lin Ruobai stomped her foot and said angrily. Her master was afraid that it would be too late to call for reinforcements, and she was worried that her master would be bullied by the Ning family, so she secretly sent a message to Tianya. Now that so much time had passed, with Tianya's speed he should be able to reach the Ning family soon. Little brat, in order to study medicine, Tianya had long found a secluded place to hide, not allowing anyone to disturb him. Even my Tian family doesn't know his exact location, yet you're able to find him? Tianku sneered. Such a lie, do you think we'll believe it? Lin Ruabai curled her lips. You can't find Tianya because he doesn't want you to find him. It doesn't mean that I can't find him either. Her words made Tianku's expression change greatly, and her eyes burned with anger. Little girl, if you continue to spout nonsense, I'll tear your mouth apart. Tianya is a member of our Tian family. How could he not wish for us to find him? Let me tell you, just 2 months ago, Tianya returned to the Tian family. 2 months ago? Lin Ruabai laughed lightly. I'm sorry, 2 months ago, Tianya was a guest at my house. You actually said that he went back to the Tian family? Seeing that her lie was seen through, Tianku flew into a rage out of humiliation. Of course, she would never admit that Tianya had been to this lass's house. She would only think that this little girl was deliberately going against her. Damned girl, you're too presumptuous. I'll never forgive you. Tianku's body stirred up a fierce gust of wind, and her body instantly rushed towards Lin Ruabai, her eyes filled with thick killing intent. Looking at this scene, family head Ning helplessly shook his head. If Yun Luofeng obediently apologized, he might be able to plead for leniency. Unfortunately, this pair of master and disciple were too arrogant, and he could not do anything. After all, if Tianya fancied Yun Luofeng's talent and wanted to take her as his disciple, it would be somewhat believable. But to say that divine Dr. Tianya wanted to take a little girl in her teens as his master, was that possible? Chapter 476. Thump. Just as Tianku was about to reach Lin Ruabai, a hand suddenly reached out from the side and pulled Lin Ruabai's body into an embrace. A slender, jade-like palm then landed on Tianku's chest. With just one move, Tianku's body was thrown out of the way and slammed fiercely onto the table. The table broke into 2 pieces and fell to the ground. The entire hall fell silent. Everyone's eyes stared unblinkingly at the peerlessly beautiful young girl in snow-white robes, dumbstruck. The young girl furrowed her brows and lowered her head to look at the little girl in her arms. She then asked, "Are you hurt?" Lin Ruabai stared at the domineering and peerlessly beautiful figure in front of her. Her heart unconsciously calmed down and her eyes became a little dazed. If her master was a man, no one in the world would not be moved by her. Unfortunately, she's a woman. However, Lin Ruabai made a decision in her heart. If she were to find a man in the future, she would use her master as her standard. This kind of domineering and gentle person, who could resist her charm? I'm fine. Lin Ruabai returned to her senses and shook her head. Her adorable little face lit up with a brilliant smile. Besides, I know that with you here, master, no one can hurt me. Wait for me at the side, I'll take care of things here. After Yun Luofeng had spoken, his jet-black eyes turned towards Tianku, who was crawling up from the ground. Yun Luofeng. Tianku gritted her teeth hatefully and spat out a mouthful of blood. She glared angrily at the young girl's peerlessly beautiful face. Ever since she had left Long Yuan country, she had returned to the Tian family and had been cultivating tirelessly. Now, she had broken through to the mid-stage of the earth martial artist. Initially, she had thought that based on her power, she would be able to crush Yun Luofeng. However, who would have thought that this young girl would only need to use one palm to push her back? Wouldn't this make her lose all her dignity? How could she tolerate such humiliation? Go to hell for me. Ha! Suddenly, a powerful energy surged from her body. This energy continued to rise until it reached the peak of the mid-stage of the earth martial artist. Then, it broke through to the high level of the earth martial artist. Sister. Tian Lin's expression changed when he saw Tianku's actions. You used the Tian family's secret skill to increase your strength? Once the effect of the secret skill wears off, your rank will drop to a low-level earth spirit. This is the side effect of the Tian family's secret technique. If one used the secret skill, although one could instantly break through a level, after a period of time, not only would the user return to their original position, but they would also drop a level. Therefore, under normal circumstances, no one would use secret skills. Yun Luofeng, I didn't think that a general's granddaughter like you would be able to reach the earth spirit realm without any conditions. The threat you pose to me is too great. Today, I must kill you here. Even though both of them were high-level Earth spiritualists, Tianku was very confident. There was no other reason. After using this secret skill, not only would he instantly break through a level, it would also allow one's physical fitness to reach the peak. Unless Yun Luofeng was a heavenly spirit cultivator, she was definitely not his opponent. One needs to note that the Tian family's secret technique doesn't increase the user's strength for a short period of time. It was a real breakthrough. A short-term increase in strength was illusory. There was no actual breakthrough to become stronger. However, the similarity between the two was that there would be a limit. After reaching a certain point in time, the user would return to their original position, accompanied by a strong side effect. Chapter 477. Boom. Tianku's body was like a tornado, sweeping towards Yun Luofeng with all her might. A sinister smile appeared on her face, and her eyes revealed a cold, killing intent. Under the strong wind, the young girl's white clothes and black hair fluttered in the wind. Her eyes quietly stared at the incoming Tianku, and no emotion could be seen on her beautiful face. Feng, be careful. Yun Xianxia turned pale with fright. She hurriedly let go of Ning Exan in her arms and flew towards Yun Luofeng. His cold eyes contained a hint of anxiety, and he was just about to rush in front of Yun Luofeng to block this attack for her. But at this moment, the young girl's hand reached out from the side and pushed Yun Xianxia away. She looked at the furious Tianku with a calm expression. The corners of her lips curled up slightly, forming a demonic smile. Her voice seemed to come from hell, causing one's heart to tremble. When did I say that I was a high-level Earth Spirit warrior? What? Tianku was stunned for a moment. Before she could understand the meaning of Yun Luofeng's words, the young girl's hand had already slapped her face from the air. Bang! This slap used all of her strength. The stunned Tianku was sent flying by this slap. Her body slammed into the wall, and blood continuously flowed out of her mouth. No. Impossible. How can you be a heavenly spirit warrior? This is impossible. She bit her lips tightly, her delicate body trembling uncontrollably. Her eyes clearly contained a hint of fear. Heavenly spirit warrior? This? Everyone couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Even the way they looked at Yun Luofeng changed. Exe, your friend is a heavenly spirit warrior? The Ning family head turned to his heart in a daze and asked with a dry throat. To be honest, to the Ning family, the heavenly spirit realm was nothing. After all, the elders of the Ning family had already reached the heavenly spirit realm, and the family head was even above the heavenly spirit realm. However, how old was Yun Luofeng? A 15-year-old girl had already become a heavenly spirit realm? Who would believe it? Ning Exan nodded in a daze. Even she did not expect that Yun Luofeng had already reached the heavenly spirit realm. She remembered that half a year ago, she was still an ordinary girl who was bullied by the royal family. Now, less than a year had passed and she had become so powerful. As long as a faction had a heavenly spirit practitioner, they would be able to gain a firm foothold in the continent. Even his father would have to acknowledge the Yun family from then on. However, it was too late for him to admit it. His heart had been broken. How could he face her in peace? A bitter smile appeared on Ning Exan's face as she thought of this. Little Feng. Yun Xianxia gradually recovered from her shock and asked helplessly, when did you become a heavenly spirit realm cultivator without making a sound? Yun Luofeng shrugged his shoulders and said with a faint smile, on the way to the Ning family hall. She was here because of Ning Exan. If she did not have absolute power, why would the Ning family let Ning Exan go? Therefore, when she headed to the hall, she found a secluded place and drank the holy water. With the holy water, she successfully broke through to become a celestial spirit warrior. This was also the reason why she was late. Cough cough. Tianku coughed dryly twice and crawled up from the ground. Her ferocious gaze turned towards Yun Luofeng as she gritted her teeth and said, Yun Luofeng, you really aren't afraid of death. My Tian family has the backing of Tianya. If you hurt me, you won't be far from death. Chapter 478. Tianya. These two words made family head Ning come back to his senses. That's right, so what if Yun Luofeng had broken through to the heavenly spirit realm? The Tian family's backer was Tianya. No matter how talented Yun Luofeng was, he would not be able to face such a powerful opponent. Master Ning, get your Ning family members to capture this damned girl. I want her to have a taste of what it's like to wish for death. Tian Ku wiped the blood from the corner of her lips and spoke hatefully. This? Master Ning was stunned and frowned. Miss Tian Ku, that's not very appropriate. Miss Yun is my daughter's savior and she has a close relationship with my father. I'm afraid, I don't care what relationship she has with your Ning family. You must capture her. Otherwise, I will charge your Ning family with the crime of shielding her. Tian Ku smiled coldly at Yun Luofeng. So what if you're talented? You will still die under the attacks of the Ning family's experts. This is the consequence of making me your enemy time and time again. Master Ning fell silent. His expression was hesitant as if he was still thinking about Tian Ku's words. Just then, Ning Exin dragged her frail body in front of Yun Luofeng. She raised her arms and shielded the young girl behind her. She stared at Master Ning with stubborn determination. Father, if you want to touch the people of the Yun family, then kill me as well. In your eyes, a daughter like me will never be as important as the Ning family. Master Ning's heart trembled. He opened his mouth to say something but was interrupted by Ning Xianxia's cold voice. You're a good master but you're not a good father. Her voice was like a heavy hammer that hammered into Master Ning's heart, making him feel suffocated. You're right, Master Ning laughed bitterly. I'm not a good father nor a good husband. I've sacrificed too much for the Ning family and I've lost too much. There was a bitter smile on his face as he stared in a daze at the young girl's determined little face. I had originally thought that my closest kin would understand me. However, I was wrong. You will never be able to understand my feelings. Tian Ku frowned in dissatisfaction when she heard the Ning father and daughter's words. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and kill them all. Sister. Tian Lin's expression changed and he grabbed Tian Ku's arm anxiously. I like Ning Exin, I want to marry her, so, shut up. Tian Ku glared at Tian Lin. Have you not woken up yet? That bitch Ning Exin would rather be with the Yun family than to be part of our Tian family. Since she has made such a choice, then let them go to hell together. Tian Lin had never dared to defy his sister since he was young. When he heard Tian Ku's words, he immediately shut his mouth and did not say another word. He only looked at Ning Exin with pity and reluctance. Hee, who do you want to send to hell? Suddenly, an indifferent voice tore through the sky and entered into the ears of everyone. Ning Exin's heart leaped with joy when she heard the familiar voice. She quickly turned around and looked at the green-robed old man who had stepped through the void. She felt a lump in her throat and tears flowed down uncontrollably. Grandfather, you're back. Elder Ning walked towards Ning Exin in a few steps. His calm eyes stared at the clear handprint on the young girl's face. He frowned and asked, Who did this? Chapter 479. Even though the old man's words were indifferent, one could still hear the uncontrollable anger in his tone. Master Ning trembled and said timidly, Father, it's me. Slap. Just as he finished speaking, the old man's palm swung towards his face. Instantly, the crisp sound of a slap rang out in the quiet living room. How could Master Ning compare to Elder Ning's strength? The slap caused his face to swell and a trace of fresh blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. These days, when I wasn't in the Ning family, is this how you treated Exen? Elder Ning's eyes were spitting fire and his face was livid. Exen has suffered so much all these years, yet you still hit her. I couldn't even bear to touch her, yet you beat her up like this. If it wasn't for the fact that my body had problems back then and I couldn't manage the family, I would never have passed the position of master to you. Master Ning covered his face and felt wronged. Father, aren't I doing this for the Ning family? For the Ning family? Bang! Elder Ning was so angry that he directly kicked his son's body away. His old face was cold and solemn, and his gaze was as sharp as a sword. His expression was as if he wanted to kick his son a few more times. How dare you say it's for the Ning family? I've only been away for half a year to seek medical treatment, and so many things have happened to the Ning family. Ning Exion's mother has also died because of your mistake. In the end, you're saying it's all for the Ning family? Master Ning didn't dare to say another word in order to avoid being beaten again. After he got up from the ground, he timidly hid to the side and looked even more wronged. Until now, he still didn't think he was in the wrong. He just felt that his father and daughter didn't understand his actions. As family, shouldn't they support him? Grandfather. Ning Xen walked forward and gently placed her palm on the old man's chest to calm his anger. Don't be angry, we don't get angry with people like this. The girl's clear voice seemed to have magic, restoring the old man's calm. He turned to his precious granddaughter and said gently, Xith, tell grandfather, what have you been wronged recently? Grandfather will get it back for you. Ning Xen paused and said, Fourth elder injured big brother Yun. Her first sentence was not to complain for herself, but to put Yun Qingya's matter first. I know about this. I'll settle the score with the fourth elder later. Elder Ning sneered. He even dared to lay his hands on my grandson-in-law. This is clearly insubordination, unforgivable. Patriarch Ning was stunned. He widened his eyes in astonishment and asked in a trembling voice, Father, what did you just say? You agree to let Ning Xen marry Yun Qingya? This Yun Qingya was the young master of a general's mansion, yet Elder Ning actually approved of him? I approve of him, but I don't know if he is willing to marry Xen. If he is willing, Ning Xen will be his wife. In other words, if Yun Qingya was unwilling to marry Ning Xen, he would not force her. If he was willing, then no one would be able to stop them. If it was any other man, as long as Ning Xen liked it, he would snatch it away and give it to her. But the Yun family was different. With his relationship with Yun Luofeng, he wouldn't do such a thing. Furthermore, with Ning Xen's personality, she wouldn't marry a man who didn't love her. Chapter 480. Therefore, whether or not the two of them could succeed would depend on themselves. The head of the Ning family was completely shocked. The old man actually claimed that if Yun Qingya wanted to marry Ning Xen, then he would immediately marry Ning Xen to him? If he didn't want to, he wouldn't force it? Was this still the old man of the Ning family who had always been protective? Don't look at this old man's calm appearance. In reality, he still doted on his granddaughter, Ning Xen. But he would rather wronged his own granddaughter than force Yun Qingya to marry her? The head of the Ning family really couldn't figure out what was so special about the Yun family that the old man would treat them like this. Are you guys done arguing? Tianke looked at Elder Ning coldly and said, I don't care what grudges you two have. Today, I will definitely kill Yun Luofeng. You better help me achieve this goal. Otherwise, you will regret it in the future. Elder Ning chuckled indifferently. His eyes were calm as he said, The Yun girl can be considered as my granddaughter. If you want to lay a finger on her, I will definitely not allow it. Father. Seeing his father's stiff tone, the head of the Ning family couldn't help but feel anxious. Miss Tianku is a member of the Tian family, the Tian family that Tianya is from. So what? Elder Ning glanced at the head of the Ning family. If you can't protect your daughter, then let this old man personally protect her. Patriarch Ning's expression became more and more anxious. He really didn't know what the old man had taken the wrong medicine. In the past, the person he revered the most was Tianya, but now, for Yun Luofeng, he had given up on the person he had revered for so long? Of course, the head of the Ning family did not know what Elder Ning was thinking. He worshipped Tianya because of his superb medical skills, but now, after getting to know Yun Luofeng, he believed that this young girl's level in the future would not be lower than Tianya's. For this, what was the pity in giving up on the Tian family? Ning Xen tightly grabbed Elder Ning's arm and stood beside him with peace of mind. There was no fear on her beautiful face, and her bright eyes were filled with stubbornness. Father, Ning family head's expression became more and more anxious. He was afraid that the old man's words would provoke the Tian family, especially when he saw that Tianke's face was getting uglier and uglier. He hurriedly said, The people from the Tian family are not to be trifled with. Don't drag the Ning family down with you. I think we should quickly apologize to the Tian family and marry Ning Xen to young Master Tian Lin. At that time, we will be in-laws with the Tian family. Shut up. Old man Ning shot a sharp look at family head Ning. I will never trade my granddaughter's happiness for power. Not to mention, others might not know, but he had heard that Xianxia had a falling out with the Tian family. Although he wasn't sure if Xianxia still had contact with the Tian family, it was impossible to restore their previous relationship. Even if Xianxia would protect the Tian family, he wouldn't send out his granddaughter just because of this. Since you insist, don't regret it. Tianku's eyes darkened. She knew that with Elder Ning here, it would be impossible for her to kill Yun Luofeng. Hence, after saying this, she pulled Tian Lin and walked out of the hall. When he walked past Yun Luofeng, his arrogant eyes gradually swept over her. He said expressionlessly, "Yun Luofeng, the enmity between us is too great. The next time we meet, I will make sure you die without a place to bury your body. Tian Lin, let's go." Tian Lin's eyes were still filled with reluctance. He glanced at Ning Xian. He wanted to stay, but after meeting his sister's gaze, he retracted his reluctant gaze. Chapter 481. Did I say you could leave? Before the two of them could step over the threshold, a voice that sounded as if it had come from hell suddenly rang out. It made their entire bodies turn cold and their feet seemed to be rooted to the ground, unable to move a single step. Tianku's face was as white as snow, but the arrogance in her eyes did not diminish. She turned towards Yun Luofeng. "What do you want? You want to kill me, right?" Yun Luofeng raised an eyebrow and smiled devilishly. "So what if I do?" Tianku snorted and replied proudly. "Nothing much." Hearing her answer, Yun Luofeng yawned lazily and leaned against the doorsill. His smiling black eyes landed on Tianku. "However, I have a rule. If you want to kill me, you must leave your own life behind." The young girl's words were arrogant and egotistical. She treated the members of the Tian family as fish on a chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. Tianku's expression changed once again. "Yun Luofeng, don't push your luck." This time, Yun Luofeng did not say another word. His white robes flashed like a gentle breeze and he appeared in front of Tianku. "You." Tianku turned pale with fright and hurriedly stepped back. However, before she could evade, an ice-cold hand grabbed her neck. Instantly, a suffocating feeling entered her heart. Tianku's originally pale face turned red and her eyes widened. She could not even say a word. Seeing that his sister had fallen into Yun Luofeng's hands, Tian Lin's eyes flashed with terror. He could not help but shuffle backwards, trying to sneak away while Yun Luofeng was not paying attention. He regretted it. He regretted rudely coming to propose marriage and bumping into a crazy woman who did not even place the Tian family in her eyes. Now, he must hurry back to the Tian family and find someone to avenge his sister. Just as Tian Lin turned to leave, his body suddenly crashed into a body. That body seemed to have an extremely powerful force which caused him to stumble a few steps back. Sigh, youngsters these days really have no sense of civility. Didn't you see an old man appear? You actually bumped into this old bag of bones. If my old bones were to fall apart, you'll have to pay for it. An elderly voice rang out from above. The accusation in that voice made Tian Lin extremely angry. Just as he was about to lose his temper, he froze when he saw the old man. "You are Uncle Xianxia?" With Tian Lin's age, he didn't recognize Xianxia. However, there was a portrait of Xianxia hanging in the Tian family. Therefore, he recognized the little old man in front of him at a glance. "Young man, don't randomly claim relatives. I don't have any nephews." The little old man curled his lips and subconsciously distanced himself from Tian Lin. A blunder, truly a blunder. Why didn't that girl Xiaobai tell him that these idiots from the Tian family are also here? It seemed like he would be entangled by these people again in the future. However, after seeing the scene in the hall, Tianxia was stunned. He blinked his eyes in astonishment. What's going on? Someone from the Tian family provoked Yun Luofeng? How dare they? A raging flame surged from the little old man's body and a murderous glint gradually appeared in his eyes. He understood Yun Luofeng's character very well. If it wasn't for the Tian family provoking her, she wouldn't have hurt them. Moreover, he had ignored the Tian family for so many years and attracted these people to be lawless. Now, they even dared to bully Yun Luofeng? "Uncle Xianxia, I am Tian Lin from the Tian family. My sister is being bullied by a crazy woman. Please help us kill that woman." Tian Lin thought that Tianya didn't know that he was from the Tian family and hurriedly explained himself. Then he shouted towards the hall. Sister, Uncle Tianya is here. We're saved. Chapter 482. Tianya? After hearing Tian Lin's words, Tian Ke's originally despaired heart was rekindled. The corners of her lips curled into a pleased smile. Bang! Yun Luofeng flung her hand and flung Tian Ke's body away. Then, her gaze gradually turned towards the little old man at the door. The little old man had wanted to greet Yun Luofeng first before settling the score with the people from the Tian family. However, he had just taken a step when a wretched figure quickly rushed out of the hall and knelt in front of him with a thud, hugging his thigh tightly. Uncle Tianya, you're finally here. This woman is extremely audacious and doesn't respect the Tian family at all. Please avenge us, Uncle Tianya. At that moment, Tian Ke was not in the mood to consider why Tianya had appeared in the Ning family. She only knew that this time, no one would be able to protect that bitch Yun Luofeng. She would definitely die without a burial. As if she could already predict Yun Luofeng's fate, Tian Ke's eyes flashed with cruelty and the smile on her face became sinister. The little old man lowered his head to look down at the kneeling Tian Ke and said condescendingly, I am all alone. Little girl, it's best if you don't try to claim kinship. Otherwise, it won't be good if you cause any misunderstandings. He did not conceal the rage on his body and a powerful aura crushed towards the woman in front of him. Tian Ke raised her head in horror and said in a trembling voice, Uncle Tianya, I am Tian Ke of the Tian family. We are family. How can you say that I'm trying to claim kinship? At that moment, a mocking voice suddenly rang out from the side. Didn't you see the godly doctor say that he doesn't know you? You still dare to shamelessly pester him. I have never seen such a shameless woman like you. Lin Ruobai placed her hands on her hips and stood next to Tian Ke. A mocking smile hung on her little face as she stared unblinkingly at Tian Ke with her big, bright eyes. Damn girl, shut up. Tian Ke flew into a rage out of humiliation and glared at Lin Ruobai. Who do you think you are, a lowly commoner? How dare you humiliate me like this? No matter what, our Tian family is still more shameless than you two. After all, we aren't like you who spoke such arrogant words, actually claiming that Tianya also has to call Yun Luofeng master. Since this little girl had taken Yun Luofeng as her master, she probably wasn't someone with a high status. Furthermore, she had purposely used this opportunity to say what Lin Ruobai had just said. Her motive was to let Tianya know that someone dared to impersonate his master's name. Idiot. Lin Ruobai snorted and said these two words disdainfully. Tianke was so angry that her whole body was trembling. She turned around and wanted to ask Tianya to avenge her, but the moment she looked at Tianya, she could not help but be stunned. This was because the old man in front of her was staring at her with a gaze filled with killing intent. Uncle Tianyayu. Before she could finish her words, she was interrupted by the surging power from the old man's body. A wave of panic surged into her heart, causing her throat to become a little dry. The lowly commoner you speak of. The little old man paused, then said, is the eldest miss of Spirit Divine Mountain. Spirit Divine Mountain? Tianke's eyes widened in shock, her voice trembling even more. You, the Spirit Divine Mountain you speak of, is it Spirit Realm's Spirit Divine Mountain? The crowd might not know of Spirit Realm's Four-Corner City, or the three great families of Spirit Realm, but everyone knew of Spirit Realm's Spirit Divine Mountain. Chapter 483. It was said that Spirit God Mountain was the territory left behind by the Spirit God. Because of this, people understood that those who could live on Spirit God Mountain were of extraordinary status. Even so, there were still people who wanted to go to Spirit God Mountain to investigate. But without a doubt, no one who entered Spirit God Mountain ever came back. As time passed, no one dared to have any ideas about Spirit God Mountain. And because of this, the people of Spirit God Mountain became gods in the eyes of the world. But now, Tianya actually told her that this lowly commoner was the eldest miss of Spirit God Mountain? Impossible! How could the eldest miss of Spirit God Mountain recognize Yun Luofeng as her master? Yun Luofeng is just a secular person. There is no way she could have any relationship with a force like Spirit God Mountain. Not to mention Tianku, even the others were looking at Xianxia in astonishment. The head of the Ning family, in particular, suddenly had a bad feeling in his heart. That feeling made his heart flustered. If this old man really was Xianxia, then his words could not be false. In other words, Yun Luofeng and the Master of Spirit Realm had an unbreakable connection. If you really had the backing of the Master of Spirit Realm, then your status, Yun Luofeng, would definitely increase by hundreds of times. Excuse me, the little old man laughed coldly and said something shocking. That girl Xiaobai is right. Even when I see the Yun girl, I have to call her master. The old man's words were like a bolt of lightning, crashing down and causing the originally noisy hall to become silent. Everyone's bodies stiffened, as if they were still in a state of shock from these words. Yun Luofeng was Tianya's master? What the little girl said just now was all true. It was laughable that they had treated her as an exaggeration. Uncle Tianya, how could she be your master? Tianku's expression turned crazy, and she pointed angrily at Yun Luofeng. Her status is low, and she can't be compared to people like us. Especially since her power is not as strong as yours, why is she your master? She did not believe that Tianya, who even the Tian family wanted to curry favor with, was Yun Luofeng's disciple. Her medical skills are better than mine. With one sentence, she pushed Yun Luofeng's status to the highest point. This was also the first time that Tianya admitted that his medical skills were inferior to others in front of everyone. Tianku crawled up from the ground, staggered, and fell to the ground again. At this moment, her heart was filled with cold despair, and even her teeth couldn't help but shiver. So, Yun Luofeng had long known Tianya, which was why he dared to not put the people of the Tian family in his eyes. It was laughable that she had used Tianya to threaten her. The more Tianku thought about it, the more afraid she became. Her body trembled even more violently. She could not help but hate Tian Lin. If it wasn't for him, she wouldn't have ended up in this state. At the same time, the Ning family head was gripped with regret. He never would have thought that the Tian family that he thought he had clung onto was just an empty shell, and that Yun Luofeng, whom he had given up on, had such a powerful backer. If he had known earlier, he would have let Ning Xen marry Yun Qingya. When did I acknowledge you as my disciple? Yun Luofeng's body leaned lazily against the wall, and his lips curled as he said, In Spirit Realm, I have already said it very clearly. You are too old, and not suitable to be my disciple. The people who had been scared silly by Tianya's words, after hearing Yun Luofeng's voice, were completely stunned. Godly Dr. Tianya wanted to take her as his master, and she refused? Chapter 484. The little old man looked at Yun Luofeng with hidden bitterness. There are so many people here, you should at least leave me some face. His expression was one of grievance. If someone who did not know the truth saw it, they would think that Yun Luofeng had done something unforgivable. I'm just speaking the truth. Yun Luofeng spread his hands. If you came here to reminisce, I'll talk to you after I'm done with this. Then you'd better hurry. The little old man pursed his lips. His attitude towards Yun Luofeng was completely different from Tianku's. As for these two people from the Tian family, you can do whatever you want with them. Because of what happened today, the little old man made up his mind. No matter what, he had to cut off all ties with the Tian family. He had to prevent the blind Tian family from using his life to act like a tyrant again. But Tianku turned pale with fright. She could no longer care about anything else. She threw herself at Tianya and fell to her knees in front of him. We are of the same clan, you can't leave me in the lurch. Same clan? Tianya snorted. Ever since I left the Tian family, I have nothing to do with you. You still dare to use my name to swindle people? Do you really think I don't know anything? Back then, it was because we are of the same clan that I did not kill you all. Now you are still doing evil, how can I tolerate it? Tianku finally understood what fear was. Her body went limp and she fell to the ground. Her lips curled into a bitter smile. Yun Luofeng, you win. This young girl's talent was stronger than hers, and her background was even stronger than hers. How could she compare to her? Tianku closed her eyes, her eyelashes trembling. I just want to keep my last bit of dignity. Looking at Tianku's determined expression, Yun Luofeng nodded. Alright, I will give you this last bit of dignity. Even though Tianke had wanted to kill her just now, she was not Mu Wuxuan, nor was she the Xiao family. So, she was willing to leave her dignity. Tianke laughed bitterly. She looked at Tian Lin, who had collapsed on the ground, her eyes filled with sorrow. Tian Lin, if I die, you will have no place in the Tian family. So, let's go together on the road to the Yellow Springs, okay? Sister, Tian Lin shuddered in fear. He shook his head desperately and said, I don't want to die, sister, I really don't want to die. A hint of pain appeared in Tianke's eyes. At that moment, she hated Tian Lin. If it weren't for him, she wouldn't have been implicated. But no matter what, Tian Lin was her younger brother and the only relative she had left in the Tian family. Now that he had to kill him with his own hands, how could he not be heartbroken? Who asked Tianlin's talent to be so poor? All these years, she had been protecting him. If she were to die, those people from the Tian family would definitely bully him. If that was the case, they might as well go to the Yellow Springs together. At least they could have a companion. No! Seeing Tianke shoot out a silver needle from her sleeve, Tian Lin's eyes widened and his face contorted in fear. His eyes were bloodshot. Puchi! The silver needle pierced into his throat, leaving a red dot on his throat. His body trembled slightly and he fell backwards. Tianke couldn't bear it anymore. She turned her head and placed the sword on her neck. She closed her eyes and exerted force in her hand. Blood spurted out from her throat and stained the ground red. Chapter 485. In the beginning, when she found out about Yun Luofeng's powerful background, Tianke's heart was filled with fear. But at the moment before her death, she calmed down. She was very clear about Yun Luofeng's methods. If she falls into the girl's hands, she will certainly suffer a fate worse than death. She might as well end her own life. It would be better than enduring the pain. This, Miss Yun, Patriarch Ning glanced at Tianku, who had fallen to the ground and was unable to get up. Then he turned his gaze towards Yun Luofeng. His expression was a little awkward. He wanted to say something, but before he could say anything, a foot kicked him from behind. With a thud, he stumbled and knelt in front of Yun Luofeng. At this moment, the middle-aged man's face was full of embarrassment, but he did not dare to move. He was so ashamed that he wanted to find a hole to crawl into. Apologize. Master Ning coldly looked down at the middle-aged man who was kneeling on the ground and said coldly, Miss Yun, I have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. I have offended you. Please forgive me. Yun Luofeng stared at him coldly. If Xiaobai was not the eldest daughter of Mount Spirit God and Tianya had nothing to do with me, would you have recognized the wrong person? The girl's words made Master Ning's expression even more ashamed. Indeed, if it were not for these two relationships, he would rather die than bow his head. So, I will not accept your apology. Her words were very heartless and left no room for negotiation. Her domineering eyes were filled with coldness and her lazy posture was filled with an imposing aura. Miss Yun, if you are not willing to forgive me, you can beat me to your heart's content until your anger subsides. However, the Ning family is innocent. I hope you will not drag the Ning family into this. He could die, but the Ning family could not be destroyed. That was his choice. Yun Luofeng shook his head. This man was indeed a good family leader, but he had never fulfilled his responsibilities as a father. You still don't understand? She raised her brows and lowered her eyes to look at the middle-aged man kneeling in front of her. I don't accept your apology because I'm angry. I'm only doing this for Ning Exin. It's a pity that you still don't understand. Patriarch Ning's body trembled. He raised his head in surprise, not understanding what Yun Luofeng meant. All these years, you've made Ning Exin suffer so much. Now, you've slapped her in the face to force her to marry someone from the Tian family. I'm starting to wonder if she's really your daughter. The young girl's words were like a sharp thorn that pierced into the heart of the Ning family's master, causing his heart to bleed. He turned his head to look at the beautiful girl beside him and raised his hand to touch her flushed right cheek. But just as his fingers were about to touch her cheek, she subconsciously took a step back and avoided his hand. Clan Head Ning's heart tightened once again, causing him to gasp in pain. It's all my fault. I've really wronged you all these years. This was the first time Master Ning lowered his head to Ning Exan. In the past, he had always walked the path he had chosen and had never looked back at her. But when she heard her father's words, Ning Exan felt nothing but sadness in her heart. She felt nothing else. Perhaps all these years, her heart had really been hurt. What's the use of apologizing now? Do you think that by apologizing, you can make up for all these years? Ning Exan calmed her emotions and smiled calmly. If it wasn't for grandfather's protection all these years, perhaps you would have married me off to Ning Yuan long ago. Chapter 486. The head of the Ning family opened his mouth, wanting to defend himself, but he didn't know where to start. After all, what Ning Exan said was the truth. If it wasn't for the fact that the old man didn't agree to her marriage, perhaps Ning Exan would already be Ning Yuan's wife. Big brother Yun. Ning Exan no longer looked at the head of the Ning family. She turned to look at Yun Xianxia, and a smile that was even more beautiful than a flower blossomed on her beautiful face. I'll go back to the Yun family with you. Yun Xianxia smiled faintly. All right. The head of the Ning family saw that Ning Exan was treating him coldly, but was smiling like a flower when facing Yun Xianxia. His heart felt even more uncomfortable, and he was filled with regret. It was also at this moment that he completely understood that he had completely lost this daughter of his. Yun Luofeng's gaze turned towards the head of the Ning family and said coldly, "For Ning Exan, I won't do anything to you. However, I will bring Ning Exan back to the Yun family and I will love her more than you do." No matter what, this Ning family head was Ning Exan's father. Furthermore, he was only interested in the family and did not do anything to harm the Yun family. Therefore, she would not harm him. If, just now, the Ning family head had listened to Tian Ku's words and summoned the elders to attack them, then she would never let him off so easily. Oh right. Ning Exan seemed to have thought of something, and anger surged in her clear eyes. Where is the fourth elder? I haven't even settled the score with him, yet he actually dared to attack Big Brother Yun. Elder Ning also suddenly came back to his senses. He had been hesitating before, as if he had missed something. Only now did he react after hearing Ning Exan's words. Fourth elder. Thinking of what this old fellow had done these past few days, his anger couldn't help but surge out, and killing intent appeared in his eyes. Men, drag the corpse on the ground out and bury it. Then, bring the fourth elder and Ning Yuan to see this old man. Elder Ning coldly ordered. This. Tianya scratched his head in confusion. Can you tell me what happened first? Also, Yun girl, what is your relationship with the Ning family? Right now, he was completely at a loss. He had no idea what was going on. At that time, Lil White had only sent him a message, telling him to hurry to the Ning family, and saying that someone was bullying Yun Luofeng. Therefore, he immediately rushed over in anger, but he still didn't know what had happened. Grandfather Tian, Lin Ruabai smiled as he walked to Tianya's side. It's like this, the people from the Medicine City want to attack Master's family? What? World Edge flew into a rage. He slammed his palm down and instantly smashed a huge hole in the wall. What did you just say? The people of the Medicine City were going to attack the Yun family? How dare they do such a thing? This won't do, I'm going to the medical city to get even with them. Seeing that Tianya was about to turn around and leave, Lin Ruabai hastily grabbed his sleeve. She pursed her lips and said, Can you listen to me first? Tell me, what other atrocities have the medical city committed? Tell them all at once so I can settle the score with them. How preposterous! The people of the medical city were too audacious. They actually dared to attack Yun Luofeng. Were they tired of living? Lin Ruabai rolled his eyes. The people from the medical city almost hurt Yun Xianxia. It was Ning Exan who risked her life to save her. Immediately after, she recounted everything that had happened in the general's mansion, including how the fourth elder had gone to the medical pavilion to snatch Ning Exan back and heavily injured Yun Xianxia. As he listened, the little old man's face gradually darkened. The fourth elder of the Ning family is really stupid. Originally, this little girl Ning Exan could have suffered less, but he foolishly brought her back to the Ning family. You caused Yun Ruoyan to come all the way to the Ning family to save her life. Not only that, you even dared to block her at the door. I don't think the Ning family had any intention of saving Ning Exan at all. Instead, You are harming her. Chapter 487. Clan head Ning's expression became more and more ashamed. He would lower his head into the dust to avoid those mocking gazes. Oh right, what's the situation between the medical city and the Yun family? Tianya seemed to have thought of something and turned to Yun Luofeng. How did you guys get into a feud with the medical city? Even though this matter had caused a bloody storm back then, with Tianya's personality, he wouldn't care about these worldly affairs. As a result, he didn't know about the grudges between the two sides. Yun Luofeng looked at Yun Xianxia and said, "Back then, my second uncle was at the peak of his fame. When the young city lord of the medical city passed by Long Yuan country, he heard the discussions of the commoners, claiming that my second uncle's talent was peerless, even though Yun Xianxia's talent could not be compared to those people in those powers. In the eyes of the citizens of Long Yuan country, he was the most outstanding one. How could the young city lord of the medical city tolerate others being praised like this? As a result, this disaster was brought upon him." "And then?" Tianya asked curiously. Hearing this, Yun Luofeng paused for a moment before continuing. "The young city lord of the medical city is just an empty shell. Therefore, my second uncle won. Because of this, the medical city could not endure this humiliation and sent experts to kill my second uncle. Fortunately, my second uncle managed to escape their pursuit and returned to the Yun family. Even so, he was still heavily injured and his strength was crippled. Furthermore, because he didn't manage to save him in time, his lower body was paralyzed." Thinking of the humiliation Yun Xianxia had suffered all these years, she couldn't help but clench her fists tightly. Killing intent surged from her domineering eyes. The old man's expression darkened bit by bit. He didn't say anything to disturb Yun Luofeng. Instead, he waited for her to continue. "In order to prevent the medical city from attacking the Yun family, my second uncle did not hesitate to hide in a dark secret room for 10 years. 10 years without sunlight. Can you imagine how he managed to survive?" Hearing Yun Luofeng's words, Ning Xian's heart suddenly ached. She subconsciously grabbed Yun Xianxia's arm, and anger gradually appeared in her clear eyes. How dare the medical city treat Yun Xianxia like this? They absolutely could not be forgiven. "Girl, after 10 years, why did the medical city attack the Yun family again?" The old man frowned and asked. Yun Luofeng swept a glance at him. "That year, the medical city wanted to exterminate my Yun family. The people from the Doctors Association came out to stop them, but the condition was that my second uncle couldn't be alive. If my second uncle is still alive, the agreement between the Doctors Association and the medical city will be nullified." Immediately, the little old man's face darkened. The Doctors Association has also intervened? How could the little old man not understand the young girl's words? If the Doctors Association was truly fair, they wouldn't have acquiesced to the actions of the medical city towards Yun Xianxia. Obviously, in the eyes of the Doctors Association, Yun Xianxia was the one at fault. Who asked him to defeat the young city governor of the medicine city? In the end, the reason why he stood out was because the medical city's actions were too big. Because of this, they actually wanted to slaughter the entire Yun clan. In order to prevent others from gossiping, he had no choice but to stand out. Of course, the condition for the truce in the medical city was Yun Xianxia's death. Not bad. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. The Doctors Association is nothing more than this. They are so unreasonably protective of their own. Since they are so protective of the medical city, then one day I will destroy both of these powers and make them taste the pain my second uncle has suffered." A strong storm surged around the old man's body as he coldly laughed and said, "What a good medical city, what a good Doctors Association. How dare you do such a shameless thing? On the arena, it was a fair duel to begin with. Such a person is not worthy of being a doctor because of his defeat." Chapter 488. After Elder Ning heard the little old man's words, he added, "Some time ago, I had already organized the people of the medical city. I still remember what Lu Yin of the medical city said at that time. He said that with Yun Xianxia's status, he was not worthy of a fair duel with their young city lord. He should just stand motionless on the stage and take a beating." The little old man had thought that he was shameless enough, but he never thought that there would be someone who could be shameless to such a level. Therefore, The aura on his body uncontrollably surged out. With a boom, the entire hall turned into a pile of ruins under his power. Little girl, don't worry, I will definitely seek justice for you. No need. Yun Luofeng shook his head. This is our Yun family's revenge. It's better to take revenge with our own hands. If you have time, I don't mind you going to the medical city to watch the show. The little old man was startled for a moment before he laughed out loud. All right, before you make a move on the medical city, don't forget to inform me. If I have time, I will definitely go and watch from the side. As he was speaking, a servant hurriedly came in, cupped his fists, and said, reporting to the head of the family, I have brought the fourth elder and Ning Yuan. Let them in. Elder Ning waved his hand and said indifferently. The servant accepted the order and retreated. Not long after, the fourth elder and Ning Yuan were pushed over by a few guards. The fourth elder looked at the hall that had turned into a pile of ruins in astonishment. He didn't know what had happened to cause the Ning family to be destroyed. Then, he suddenly saw the indifferent elder Ning and hurriedly retracted his thoughts. With tears streaming down his face, he said, Old master, you must uphold justice for me. This woman relied on the jade pendant you gave her to act like a tyrant in our Ning family. She even attacked and injured people. This is truly unforgivable. Elder Ning raised his chin slightly and smiled indifferently. Don't be in a hurry to complain. I heard that you brought people to the medical pavilion and injured Xianxia? The fourth elder's heart trembled. Isn't this all because Xianxia is occupying Miss Ning Xian? I had no choice but to. No choice? Elder Ning said coldly, do you know that because you had no choice, Xianxia's illness was almost delayed? If Xianxia died, can you bear the responsibility? Fourth elder clenched his fists tightly and glared hatefully at Yun Luofeng. At that time, I was also worried about Ning Xian's condition. Besides, the Ning family knows so many doctors. That was why I wanted to bring her back to the Ning family to receive the best treatment. Elder Ning sneered. That's right, the Ning family does know a lot of doctors. Unfortunately, all of them were unable to cure my illness back then. If it wasn't for Yun Las, I might have already passed away. In the beginning, fourth elder might have doubted Elder Ning's words. However, ever since Yun Luofeng had saved Ning Xian's life, he could not help but believe that this old man had truly recovered. However, he was very unwilling. He was unwilling to fail here. Patriarch, I have something to say. Ning Yuan stood up from the ground. His handsome face had a confident smile on it, but he couldn't help but glance at Ning Xian. He snorted and said, even without this woman, nothing will happen to Xian. I guess you guys still don't know, but when I was out a few days ago, I met a disciple of the Tian family. That disciple's name is Wang Lin, and he promised me that he would plead with godly Dr. Tianya for me to save Xian. Could it be that Tianya's medical skills are inferior to this Yun Luofeng's? Therefore, regardless of whether she is here or not, nothing will happen to Ning Xian. When he said this, Ning Yuan didn't notice at all that everyone was looking at him with strange gazes. Chapter 489. The little old man's gaze slowly turned to Ning Yuan, a mocking smile on his aged face. Youngsters these days, not only do they like to bully others, they also like to spout nonsense. Bulfing, who are you? Ning Yuan saw that the little old man dared to speak to him in such a manner. His handsome face was shrouded in anger. I'm sorry, the little old man squinted his eyes and said with a smile, I am the Tianya that the Tian family used to bully others. At this moment, Ning Yuan's expression was very interesting. It was as if his face had been painted with dye, instantly changing to a different color. He bit his lips tightly, his body trembling slightly. No, impossible, you are Tianya? This is impossible. Tian Lin had never told him that Tianya would come to the Ning family. This old man must be an impostor. Tisk. Lin Ruabai glanced at Ning Yuan's expression of disbelief and smiled brightly. Ning Yuan, I really don't know if you are stupid or too trusting of others. That Tian Lin you speak of, he did not come to the Tian family to help you. He came here to ask for Ning Xian's hand in marriage. Boom. Like a thunderbolt from the clear sky, Ning Yuan, who had not yet recovered from the shock, was hit head-on, and his brain went blank. His good brother had not come to the Ning family to help him, but to marry Ning Exin? When did that guy have such thoughts about Ning Exin? Why did he not know about it? As for Tianya's identity, Lin Ruabai paused. It was acknowledged by the Tian family. Oh, right, the Tian family member's body has been dragged out. I don't think it's too far away. Should I get someone to drag it back for you to see? Ning Yuan staggered and took a few steps back, his eyes filled with despair. The trump card he thought was his last resort turned out to be so fragile. Not only because of Tian Lin's betrayal, but also because of the little old man in front of him. Since the Ning family knows Tianya, why didn't they let him out earlier? The old master wouldn't have suffered so much back then. Ning Yuan bit his lips tightly and asked the question in his heart. He really did not understand why Tianya had not stepped forward to help the Ning family despite being friends with them. Could there be some other reason? From start to end, he never connected World's Edge and Yun Luofeng together. In his opinion, a person like Yun Luofeng didn't have the qualifications to befriend divine Dr. Tinya. Unfortunately, things didn't go as he wished. Following that, the little old man's words immediately sent Ning Yuan straight into hell. His entire person stood rooted to the ground like a stone, without any movement or expression. I don't have much of a relationship with the Ning family. I've only come here because I heard that the Yun lass had been bullied. I'm still hoping that Yun lass will give me some pointers when she's in a good mood, so I can't ignore her matters. The implication was that his goal of coming here was Yun Luofeng, and it had nothing to do with anyone else. Didn't your Tian family look down on her identity? Since that was the case, he would make sure that these people who had looked down on her would never be able to reach up to her in the future. He had said those words on purpose. After all, he did not know what had happened before he came. He had only hurried over after hearing that it was related to Yun Luofeng. Chapter 490. It was obvious that the effect of his words was very obvious. When he heard the little old man's words, Elder Forth's expression changed greatly and his breathing became uneven. Imagine this, a person whom you had thought to be inferior to you suddenly realized through other means that she is much more powerful than you in all aspects, to the point that you will never be able to surpass her. That feeling was as if a hand was squeezing his heart fiercely, making him feel so uncomfortable that he was about to suffocate. Luckily, this little girl was only an earth spirit. I'm a heavenly spirit after all. In terms of martial arts, this little girl is definitely no match for me. Elder Forth's eyes darted back and forth at the thought of this. He then came up with a plan. Divine Dr. Tianya, I never thought that Yun Luofeng would be acquainted with you, but I don't think that I've done anything wrong. Ning Exin is a member of the Ning family and I had brought her back out of concern. What wrong have I done? In an instant, everyone's gazes were focused on the fourth elder. They all thought that this old man had gone mad. Did he not understand Tianya's words? Tianya is clearly on Yun Luofeng's side and the old master stands on Yun Luofeng's side unconditionally. Yet he dares to refuse to admit his mistake. Oh! Tianya raised the corners of his lips and smiled at Elder Forth. What do you want then? Elder Forth glanced sinisterly at Yun Luofeng. I want to challenge her. If I lose, I'll let her do whatever she wants to me. If I win, I want Ning Exin to marry my son and the Ning family will not punish us. Hee hee, Tianya laughed disdainfully. Elder Ning, this elder of the Ning family is rather thick-skinned. He actually wants to challenge a 15-year-old girl? Doesn't he think that his request is embarrassing? Elder Forth did not seem to hear Tianya's mocking voice. His elderly eyes stared unblinkingly at Yun Luofeng. You don't dare to challenge me because you're afraid? Or could it be that my power is terrifying? So, General Yun's granddaughter is a coward who doesn't even have the courage to challenge me. This old man was obviously ready to throw caution to the wind. He knew that this was the only way for him to survive. Furthermore, he could help his son fulfill his long-cherished wish. However, when he said these words, he needed to face Elder Ning and Tianya's fierce gazes. Their gazes made him sweat uncontrollably and his aged face turned even paler. But he resisted the fear in his heart and said these shameless words. You've disgraced our Ning family. Elder Ning snorted coldly and said with an expressionless face, Yun lass, don't worry. I'll kill this old man right now. Don't let him cause trouble here. Seeing that Elder Ning's aura was getting stronger and stronger, The fourth elder became even more anxious. Yun Luofeng, your parents are the heroes of Long Yuan country, yet you are so useless. If your parents in heaven were to see this, they would definitely regret giving birth to a coward like you. The fourth elder clearly knew what kind of person Yun Luofeng was. However, he had no choice but to say such angry words. Only by doing so would he be able to infuriate the girl and force her to accept the competition. Indeed, after fourth elder mentioned Yun Yang and his wife, the girl's sinister and cold gaze gradually fell upon him. I don't accept not because I'm afraid of you. It's because, based on your abilities, you don't have the right to challenge me. But since you insist on doing this, why not fulfill your wish? Chapter 491. The fourth elder was overjoyed, and a hint of joy appeared in his eyes. This girl was only an earth spirit. He only needed to slap her to death. After defeating her, he would still be the fourth elder of the Ning family, and Ning Yuan could marry Ning Exin. However, the fourth elder narrowed his eyes and turned to Xianxia, who was watching the show from the side. Godly Dr. Xianxia, I believe that with your high prestige, you will not do anything to cover up. In the arena, a fair duel. The loser will have to fulfill his promise. I only hope that at that time, godly doctor, you will not do anything that does not match your status. After all, this kind of thing had been listed here. More than 10 years ago, Yun Xingya had defeated the young master of the medical city in the arena. In the end, it had attracted the crazy revenge of the medical city. As for him, in order to be safe, he had warned Xianxia in advance, in case this old man was unreasonably protective. Don't worry, I'm not like those bastards from the medical city. Other than the two sides of the competition, no one else is allowed to interfere in the challenge. Xianxia looked at the fourth elder with a mocking smile. However, I also hope that you won't go back on your word. Xianxia had great confidence in Yun Luofeng. Since this girl had accepted the challenge, it meant that she had the confidence to win. All right. The fourth elder's gaze turned to Yun Luofeng and he smiled coldly. Yun Luofeng, let's begin. As soon as he finished speaking, a large blade appeared in front of the fourth elder. A sharp hurricane blew around his body, and his snow-white hair danced in the wind. He looked like a real madman. Under normal circumstances, he would never draw his blade in battle. However, this time, he could only win. He could not lose. As such, he took out his weapon and slashed down at Yun Luofeng's head with a loud bang. The entire courtyard was turned into ruins by his slash. Smoke and dust rose in all directions, covering the entire courtyard. Yuaner, it's all over. The fourth elder wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and turned to look at Ning Yuan with a weak smile on his face. Very soon, Ning Exin will become your wife. He believed that under his full strength attack, Yun Luofeng had no chance of survival. Just when he thought that Yun Luofeng was dead for sure, a hand suddenly landed on his shoulder. Who is it? The fourth elder frowned slightly and suddenly turned around. At that moment, his eyes met with a pair of smiling eyes, and his expression froze instantly. How is this possible? He had used all his strength in that attack. Furthermore, he had clearly slashed his blade towards Yun Luofeng. Why was she unharmed? The fourth elder's tightly clenched fists trembled slightly. He took a deep breath and his expression was extremely ugly. Yun Luofeng, I really underestimated you. Although I don't know how you dodged my attack. However, your luck won't be so good after this. Boom. The fourth elder's fist was mighty and fierce as it met Yun Luofeng's beautiful face with a loud bang. At such a short distance, his opponent was unable to dodge at all and could only face his fist head-on. Yun Luofeng indeed didn't dodge. She raised her hand and unhurriedly clenched it towards fourth elder's fist. Huh. The fourth elder laughed maliciously and spoke cruelly. Yun Luofeng, based on your earth spirit strength, you can't block my attack. And you can't possibly have such good luck every time. Chapter 492. What was the meaning of extreme joy turning to sorrow? The fourth elder quickly sensed this feeling. Just as his fist was about to reach his eyes, Yun Luofeng's hand easily and tightly gripped his fist. A wave of energy suddenly leapt into his mind and fiercely struck his soul. This attack caused his mind to go blank. When he came back to his senses, he suddenly felt a huge pain in his chest. Following that, his old body flew out fiercely and fell on the icy cold ground. Elder Fourth coughed out 2 mouthfuls of blood. His gaze towards Yun Luofeng was no longer filled with contempt. Instead, it was filled with seriousness. Little girl, I've truly underestimated you. Not only did you manage to escape my attack, but you also possess a secret skill. If I'm not wrong, you should have learned a soul attack type of cultivation technique. Unfortunately, no matter how many trump cards you have, there's still an even greater difference between a heavenly spirit cultivator and an earthly spirit cultivator. Elder Fourth crawled up from the ground and laughed icily. His feet gradually left the ground and slowly rose into the sky. This difference is that after becoming a heavenly spirit cultivator, one can fly in the sky. Therefore, the difference between you and me is too great. As long as I rise into the sky, I can attack you. However, you can't attack me. A complacent smile hung on his face as his eerie gaze stared down at the people on the ground. Because his gaze was focused on Yun Luofeng, he did not notice the strange looks in the eyes of the people around him. Heavenly spirit cultivator? Yun Luofeng curled the corners of her lips. Her smile was demonic and stern. The insolence in her eyes was fully displayed at this moment. Do you think that you're the only one? What? Elder Fourth was stunned. He clearly did not understand what Yun Luofeng meant by this. However, before he could understand, he was shocked silly by the sudden turn of events. The young girl who had been standing in the courtyard suddenly rose into the sky and appeared in front of him in the blink of an eye. Before Elder Fourth could return to his senses, Yun Luofeng's leg swept out with a sharp gust of wind. With a loud bang, the old man's body fell from the sky. At this moment, Elder Fourth's mind was in a daze. Even when his body fell to the ground, he still had not recovered from his shock. She was a celestial spirit practitioner? When did this happen? He could still remember that a few months ago, this young girl was only a beginner earth spirit. In just a few short months, she had become a heavenly spirit warrior? Bang! The fourth elder's body heavily smashed into the ground, creating a deep pit. He lay in the pit with a dull look in his eyes as he stared blankly at the azure sky. At this moment, he thought back to the words he had said before the battle and realized how ridiculous they were. So it turned out that she didn't accept the challenge out of disdain and not out of fear. Father! Ning Yuan turned pale with fright. His face was filled with anxiety, and his forehead was covered with cold sweat. Yuan? Ning Yuan's voice brought the fourth elder back to his senses and he clenched his teeth tightly. Ning Xian hadn't married Yuan, or yet, he couldn't just give up like this. If he couldn't escape today, he would drag Ning Xian down to hell with him. Only then could Ning Xian become Yuan's wife. Thinking of this, the fourth elder dragged his heavily injured body out of the deep pit and quickly rushed towards Ning Xian. Chapter 493. Ning Xian, if Yuaner and I die, I also want you to go to hell to be Yuaner's wife. Just as he finished speaking, the figure that was like a whirlwind had already arrived in front of Ning Xian. His eyes revealed a cruel light. He understood that it was impossible for him to defeat Yun Luofeng. If that was the case, then he could only let Ning Xian be buried with him. It was better than Yuaner being alone. Be careful. Yun Xianxia held Ning Xian's hand tightly and pulled her into her embrace. She used her back to face the fourth elder and raised her robe, enveloping the young girl's body. At the same time, another figure shot over like a sword. When Yun Xianxia finished her action, she was already in front of Ning Xian. Puchi. The fourth elder's fist contained a strong killing intent as it heavily struck the youth's chest. The youth's extremely weak body was directly thrown out by his attack as blood flowed uncontrollably from his mouth. Immediately, the fourth elder was stunned. He raised his head in astonishment and looked at the youth who was blocking in front of Ning Xian. His voice trembled slightly as he asked, "Why?" "Father." Ning Yuan smiled faintly. That smile was very weak and filled with endless sorrow. "Don't hurt Ning Xian, Yuaner, I'm doing this for you. Can't you see it? These people will not let us go. But you haven't taken a wife for so many years because of Ning Xian. I just want her to become your wife. Why did you save her?" The fourth elder's eyes were about to split open as his old body trembled violently in the wind. His eyes were also spewing out raging flames as he could not help but roar at his son. He had done all this for him. Why did he have to be so rebellious? Father, even if that's the case, I don't want her to suffer any harm. Ning Yuan smiled slightly. Sorry, I've disappointed you. After saying that, his body seemed to be unable to bear a heavy burden as he leaned backwards. His eyelashes trembled slightly as he slowly closed his eyes. Yuan! The fourth elder roared in grief. His body quickly flashed and appeared in front of Ning Yuan. He quickly caught the youth's body and said sorrowfully, Yuan, wake up. Don't scare Daddy. Daddy was wrong. Hurry up and open your eyes and look at me. Alas, the young man closed his eyes and did not make a sound. His punch just now had already broken the young man's heart meridian. Even if the great firmament immortal came, he would not be able to save him. The fourth elder faced the sky, and his heart-wrenching voice reverberated above the Ning family for a long time. Even if you hate me, I will let Ningxin accompany you. The fourth elder's heart was filled with anger and hatred. He gently put down Ning Yuan's corpse and looked at the girl in Yunxinya's arms with a sinister gaze. Ning Xian, my son is so devoted to you. Why don't you accept him? He gritted his teeth, full of hatred. I believe that in this world, there is no man who treats you better than my son. But you bitch, you actually didn't want such a good man and insisted on choosing Yunxinya. What right do you have to reject my son's love? Elder Ning's face darkened as he stared coldly at the fourth elder. Ning Yuan is indeed a good child. Unfortunately, he has a father like you. Otherwise, he wouldn't have fallen to such a state. Shut up. The fourth elder had gone completely crazy. He turned to look at Elder Ning and said angrily, if it wasn't for your Ning family, Yuana wouldn't have died. You are the murderers who killed him. I will kill you all to avenge Yuana. Chapter 494. Elder Ning glanced at him. Firstly, you're the one who killed your son. Secondly, I'd like to see how you're going to destroy my Ning family. Nonsense. Fourth elder's face turned hideous as he roared, the one who killed him is someone from your Ning family. If it wasn't for saving Ning Xen, he wouldn't have died. So, I'll drag all of you down with me. Ha! As he spoke, fourth elder's aura suddenly became fierce. His body gradually expanded, causing the pressure in the air to drop, making it hard for everyone to breathe. He's going to self-destruct. Elder Ning's face changed. Furthermore, it's not an ordinary self-destruction, it's the self-destruction of his soul. Everyone knew that the self-destruction of a martial artist would cause severe injuries to the people around him, especially when fourth elder's soul was self-destructing. How strong was the power of the soul? If he really did detonate himself, then amongst the people present, only Tianya would be able to escape this calamity. Even Elder Ning would be severely injured by this. Therefore, after sensing fourth elder's aura, Elder Ning's face turned grave. Self-destruction of the soul will result in the destruction of the soul. Is it worth it? Under normal circumstances, very few people would self-destruct their soul. This was because if the soul was gone, how could one talk about reincarnation? If there wasn't a deep hatred, no one would risk having their soul destroyed just to kill their enemy. However, the fourth elder understood that if it was just an ordinary self-detonation, with Tianya and Elder Ning's strength, they would be able to block the damage for everyone present. For this reason, he was willing to sacrifice his soul to send Ning Xen to accompany Ning Yuan. Ning Xen, I really don't know where you get your charm from to make Yuaner give up his life for you. But this is the end for you. I won't let Yuaner walk alone. Then he lowered his head to look at Ning Yuan's corpse. The evil smile on his face gradually disappeared and was replaced with gentleness. Yuana, father can't accompany you anymore, but father will send Ning Xen to accompany you. You must grasp this opportunity well. Even if my soul is destroyed, father will fulfill your wish. Undeniably, fourth elder's personality was the complete opposite of clan leader Ning's. Patriarch Ning was willing to give up his daughter for the sake of the family, but the fourth elder had committed countless mistakes. But his feelings for Ning Yuan were real. All of you, go and atone for your sins. The fourth elder's aura became more and more intense, and even the air around him became a formless storm. Under the storm, his white hair danced wildly in the wind. His face became ferocious once again, and the viciousness in his eyes was like a dagger dipped in poison. Anyone who was looked at by him would be poisoned to death. Pucci. Suddenly, a muffled sound came from the fourth elder's body. Then his bulging body flattened like a punctured balloon. He turned around in a daze and looked at Yun Luofeng, who had unknowingly appeared behind him. He trembled as he asked, "What did you do to me?" Facing the fourth elder's stunned expression, Yun Luofeng smiled lazily. "Don't forget, I am a doctor." As a doctor, he naturally knew all the acupoints and characteristics of the human body. Thus, at that moment, he used a silver needle to pierce the fourth elder's acupoint and stopped him from self-destructing. Tianya looked at Yun Luofeng in astonishment, and the shock in his eyes deepened. As a doctor as well, no one was clearer than him what Yun Luofeng's actions represented. After all, even he had been unable to successfully stop a self-destruction. Chapter 495. The fourth elder closed his eyes in despair. He knew that he had no hope of revenge this time. Since that was the case, he would wait for his next life. In his next life, he would make sure that all of these people were buried with him. Yun Luofeng Ning family. He opened his eyes and sneered, "When I get to the next life, I will come find you and make you pay with your blood." Blood for blood? Yun Luofeng curled his lips. "Sorry, you won't have the chance." The girl's voice was arrogant, causing the fourth elder to fly into a rage once again. But this time, before he could speak, a violent force came out from his body and fiercely struck his internal organs. Even his soul felt a pain as if it had suffered a heavy blow. "What did you do to me?" There was no need to think about it. The fourth elder knew that this woman must have done something to him. Yun Luofeng glanced at him evilly. "I just sent the power of your self-destruction back into your body. I didn't make it disappear." In other words, she had sent the power of the fourth elder's self-destruction back into his body. In other words, he couldn't make his soul self-destruct, but he would still have his soul scattered. "You're such a vicious woman. You will definitely die a horrible death." The fourth elder had gone completely mad. He had failed to self-destruct, yet he still had to bear the consequences of his soul scattering. If it was anyone else, they wouldn't be able to bear it. "I originally wanted to hand you over to second uncle, but unfortunately, you charged straight into my hands." Yun Luofeng smiled evilly as he leaned against the tree beside him. "So, you brought this upon yourself." An intense pain came from within his body. The fourth elder's face contorted as he let out a mournful roar. "Yun Luofeng, a vicious woman like you will definitely not have a good ending." Pucci. A mouthful of blood spurted out. The fourth elder staggered and fell heavily to the ground. He sucked in a breath of cold air and stared hatefully at Yun Luofeng with a twisted face. "Second uncle." Yun Luofeng did not look at the fourth elder anymore. She turned around and walked towards Yun Xianxia, raising her eyebrows. "Ning Xian's body is still a little weak. Take her back to your room to rest first. Let the Ning family handle the matters here." "All right." Yun Xianxia's lips curled into a faint smile as her cold gaze gradually fell on Ning Xian. "Xian, I'll take you back to your room." Ning Xian bit her lips and nodded slightly. She looked at Yun Luofeng as if she wanted to say something, but in the end, she turned her head and followed Yun Xianxia into the backyard. In the end, she didn't say the word, "thank you." However, she would remember everything that Yun Luofeng had done for her. She would never forget it. Elder Ning let out a heavy sigh. The fourth elder left him here to destroy himself. His soul will soon dissipate. As for Ning Yuan, it's a pity. If he wasn't the son of the fourth elder, he would definitely be a good seedling. Ning Yuan's nature was not bad. It was just that he was pampered by the fourth elder. That was why he became so lawless. However, if he were to be nurtured from a young age, he believed that he would change very well. Unfortunately, Ning Yuan was the fourth elder's child, so he had buried his life. At the thought of this, Elder Ning shook his head regretfully. Bury Ning Yuan later. Because his father betrayed the Ning family, he does not have the qualifications to enter the Ning family's ancestral grave. As for the fourth elder, just find a mass grave and throw him away. Chapter 496. Yes, Patriarch. The servant cupped his fists and replied respectfully. It was night. The moon was as deep as water. Xianxia stood in the courtyard with her hands behind her back. Her cold gaze was cast towards the night sky as a faint smile appeared on her lips. Suddenly, a green cloak draped over his shoulders. He was slightly startled as he turned his head to look at the beautiful girl who had appeared behind him for some reason. Your body hasn't fully recovered yet, so it's better if you don't blow too much. Ning Exen smiled faintly. Brother Yun, what were you thinking about just now? Hearing this, Xianxia once again turned her gaze towards the night and sighed softly. I was thinking that if my brother and sister-in-law were still alive, they would definitely be proud of little Fenger's current achievements. Ning Exen turned her head to look at the man's side profile. She discovered that the man under the moonlight was extremely good-looking, his entire body emitting a dazzling light. Big Brother Ning, would you like to hear my story? Hearing this, Xianxia retracted her gaze and said with a light smile, If you are willing to tell me your story, then I will listen. Big Brother Yun. Ning Exen looked at the night sky and said with a bitter smile, Actually, I am very envious of you. Your father is a true hero. Back then, he would rather let his son and daughter-in-law lead the troops into battle than give his daughter-in-law to the enemy's emperor as a concubine. This was a true man. If it was my father, perhaps his choice would be to give me away. When she said this, Ning Exen's tone was filled with sorrow. Because he once faced a choice, and his choice was the Ning family. It was unknown if it was because the sky was cold or her heart was cold, but Ning Exen tightly pulled at her clothes, and her lowered eyes were filled with sorrow. 10 years ago, the daughter of the Ning family's elder returned after several years of experience. At that time, the Ning family's madam was already my mother, and the elder's daughter had admired my father since she was young. When she found out about this, she flew into a rage. She wanted my father to cripple my mother and marry her. For the sake of the Ning family's peace, my father did not accept the elder's daughter's suggestion, nor did he reject her. For this reason, the elder's daughter believed that my mother was pestering my father. In order to be my father's wife, she beat my mother to death. Ning Exen took a deep breath, clenching her fists tightly to suppress the anger in her heart. However, even so, her heart still trembled uncontrollably. That's right, that woman didn't poison or assassinate my mother. She just beat my mother to death in public. Because she knew that her father had a very high prestige in the clan. Even if she killed my mother, my father wouldn't do anything to her. Xianxia turned to look at Ning Exen. He had thought that he had lived a miserable life, but Ning Exen's experience was not much better. Even though she was the eldest young lady of the Ning family, she had to watch helplessly as her own mother was beaten to death. What kind of pain was that? Xianxia subconsciously reached out and hugged Ning Exen's shoulder tightly. Big Brother Yun, that woman made the right bet. My father was devastated by my mother's death, but he didn't even have the courage to take revenge for her. Because that woman's father was the head of the Ning family's elders at that time. For the sake of the entire Ning family, he endured. After my grandfather found out about this, he rushed back to the Yun family to avenge my mother. He even took me away from the Ning family. Chapter 497. At the mention of Elder Ning, Ning Exen's expression softened. She said softly, Big Brother Yun, even though my father is still alive, my grandfather is the only family member I have. He was afraid that if my father had other children, I would be wronged, so he let my father disperse the backyard. This is also the reason why my father has not taken a wife or concubine all these years. Actually, Ning Exen smiled faintly. The most manly thing my father did in his life was to marry my mother in the face of so much pressure. Of course, this was also because of grandfather's support. However, I hope that my mother will never get to know my father in this life. This way, his mother wouldn't be beaten to death in front of everyone. Big Brother Yun, my father's feelings for my mother are very real, but his biggest flaw is that he pays too much attention to the family. Indecisiveness. Back then, when he found out that his mother had been beaten to death by that woman, he hated her so much that he wanted to kill her. However, he didn't dare to do so. Tell me, what's the use of a man who doesn't even have the courage to avenge his lover? Ning Xian raised her eyes and stared at Yun Xingya's handsome face with clear eyes. She pursed her lips slightly. Come back to the Yun family with me tomorrow. The man's melodious voice slowly rang in her ears, and she couldn't help but feel at ease. Big brother Yun, actually, I am very regretful in my heart. During the 10 years that you needed to accompany me the most, we did not get to know each other. Ning Xian gently held Yun Xingya's hand and said with a smile, if only we had known each other at that time? 10 years. How painful was it to hide alone in a dark secret chamber for 10 whole years? As for her, she was not by his side at that time, nor did she accompany him through this most difficult period of time. Now that she thought about it, Ning Xian felt a wave of heartache, and the hatred she felt towards the medical city grew deeper and deeper. At that time, I was just a cripple. Yun Xingya shook her head and said with a bitter smile. Big brother Yun, Ning Xian's eyes were filled with sincerity. Whether you are a cripple or a healthy person, I, Ning Xian, will never leave your side in this lifetime. I won't leave until the day you no longer need me. She loved Yun Xingya, nothing else. After all, before this, she didn't know Yun Luofeng's strength at all, nor did she know that he had a powerful backer. In a situation where she didn't know anything, she was heavily injured for Yun Xingya, which indirectly proved that her love for him was pure. Even if this man was a cripple, she would still move forward and never retreat. Yun Xingya's eyes moved as she stared deeply at the beautiful girl in front of her. He was a normal man, not a cold-hearted man. All these years, Ning Xian was the only woman he had interacted with other than his family. Now, this woman was infatuated with him. Even if his heart was made of stone, it would melt. Ning Xian, it looks like I should call you second aunt from now on. As their gazes met, an evil voice rang out from behind them. There was an obvious hint of amusement in that voice. Yun Xingya hurriedly retracted her gaze and coughed twice. Her handsome face was tinged with embarrassment. Xiaofeng, why are you here? Yun Luofeng slowly walked forward, his lips curling into a playful smile. His black eyes sized up the two people in front of him. Come and meet my future second aunt. Chapter 498. Her words were filled with obvious flattery, causing Yun Xingya's handsome face to turn even redder. Second uncle, when are you going to marry Ning Xian? Yun Luofeng seemed to feel that the awkwardness between the two of them was not enough, and continued to speak in a mocking tone. Little Feng, Ning Xian smiled faintly, right now, it's just my unrequited love. Once big brother Yun accepts my feelings, I will immediately marry her. She would not force Yun Xingya, nor would she use kindness to threaten him. She would only wait for the moment when he was willing to accept her feelings. Yun Xingya looked at Ning Xian with a complicated expression. I am a man. As a man, I should protect my own woman. However, I am still not strong enough. When I am strong enough to protect her, I will marry her. Ning Xian's heart suddenly skipped a beat as she looked at Yun Xingya in surprise. Did brother Yun mean that he had accepted her feelings? But it wasn't time to marry her yet? Big brother Yun, I'll wait for you. After stabilizing her mind, Ning Xian's heart calmed down, and the smile on her face became even more moving. No matter how long it takes, I will wait for you. Second uncle? Yun Luofeng seemed to have sensed something and frowned slightly. What you mean by that is, Yun Xingya looked at Yun Luofeng. I want to go to the forest of no return. The forest of no return, no return. Anyone who entered the forest of no return would die without a doubt. However, Yun Luofeng did not expect that Yun Xingya would actually want to go to that place. Are you sure? She raised her eyebrows and asked. I'm sure. Yun Xingya's expression was unprecedentedly solemn. Little Feng, you only know that there are no returns to the forest of no return, but you don't know that there are also a few people who were able to leave the forest of no return safely. Those people have all undergone a huge change in their strength. If I want to grow up as soon as possible, I must go to the forest of no return. This was also the reason why he was unwilling to marry Ning Xian. It was precisely because he was afraid that if he couldn't return from the forest of no return, he would implicate Ning Exin for the rest of her life. Second uncle, you have to think about it carefully. If you think about it carefully, I will support whatever you do. However, you have to understand that me, grandfather, and Ning Exin, we are all waiting for your return at the Yun family. You must come back to us alive. Yun Xianxia lovingly rubbed Yun Luofeng's head, her eyes filled with endless gentleness. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. I'm only going to train in the outskirts of the forest of no return. I'm definitely not going in. For your sake, I will also ensure my own safety. All right, Yun Luofeng's furrowed brows relaxed. Before you go to the forest of no return, I'll prepare some spiritual medicines for you, just in case. Yun Xianxia's lips moved slightly. He had thought that Yun Luofeng would definitely not agree to his decision, but he didn't expect that she would actually approve of it. He heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. If Yun Luofeng really did not agree, he would still think of a way to go to the forest of no return. Only with sufficient strength could he protect the Yun family. And he didn't want the same thing to happen again. Big brother Yun. Ning Exin raised her head and stared at Yun Xianxia intently. I'm also waiting for you at the Yun family. You have to come back alive. If you are unable to return to the Yun family, then I will guard you for the rest of my life. Yun Xianxia smiled bitterly and said, Exin, little Fenger and my father. Please take care of them. Don't worry, big brother Yun. I will take good care of the Yun family for you. Moreover, as long as I am alive, no one is allowed to invade the Yun family. Chapter 499. The girl's eyes were firm, and her delicate face was solemn. Unless she dies, she will not allow anyone to invade the Yun family. Second uncle, do you want to go back and see grandfather before you leave? Yun Luofeng said after thinking for a while. No need. Yun Xianxia shook her head. If he finds out, then I won't be able to leave. No one knew the old master's character better than him. If he knew that he was going to a place like the forest of no return, he would definitely not let him go. Thinking of this, Yun Xianxia paused for a moment. Little Fenger, I will set off for the forest of no return tomorrow. You guys can go back to the Yun family and wait for me. He must personally avenge the Medicine City. Only then would he be able to relieve his years of pain. All right. Yun Luofeng nodded lightly. She understood Yun Xianxia's thoughts very well. If she had been hurt for so many years, she would not want others to stand up for her. Instead, she wanted to rely on her own hands to take revenge. It's getting late. I'll go back and rest first. You two take your time to chat. Yun Luofeng's lips curved into a smile. He tactfully turned around and left, leaving this space to the two of them. He believed that tonight, they would have many things to talk about. At this moment, Yun Zhao's cold and callous face appeared in her mind. She wondered how that fellow had been recently. Had he left the secret realm? However, she believed that it wouldn't be long before Yun Zhao returned to look for her, Long Yuan country. In the hall of the general's residence, old Master Yun looked at the betrothal gifts that filled the entire hall with a headache. He rubbed his temples and said in a low voice, You still haven't found out the origin of these betrothal gifts? Yi Ling shook her head. I made the fallen Maple Pavilion's people go and investigate, but they still couldn't find out who sent these betrothal gifts. So, I don't know who proposed to Master. Sigh, the old man sighed helplessly. Sure enough, before one wave has subsided, another wave rises. I wonder when Fenger will return. Just as the old master finished speaking, a servant hurried in from outside the door and reported respectfully, Master, eldest Miss and Miss Ning Exin have returned. What? Master Dongfang suddenly rose to his feet, his wrinkled face filled with joy. Ning Exin is all right? That's great news. Let's go and welcome Fenger. After saying this, he strode out of the door. With just a glance, he saw the two girls crossing the threshold and entering. One of them was a young girl dressed in a white robe. She was devastatingly beautiful and her beautiful face had an evil smile on it. Her pitch-black eyes stared unblinkingly at the old man in the courtyard. The other girl was beautiful and had a dignified demeanor. She stood quietly beside Yun Luofeng, her bright eyes filled with smiles. You're back? The old man stopped in his tracks and quietly watched the two people walk into the general's mansion. After a while, he finally said this. By the way, where's Xianxia? The old man was startled when he didn't see Xianxia. He frowned and asked. Second uncle has gone out to gain experience. He'll probably only be back after a while. Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a faint smile. She did not reveal Xianxia's true identity to prevent the old man from worrying. If he knew that his son had gone to such a dangerous place, he might not be able to sleep well in the future. Out to gain experience? Master Yun was stunned but did not think too much about it. His tightly furrowed brows gradually relaxed. Feng, you're back at the right time. I have something to tell you. Chapter 500. As the old man said this, Yun Luofeng saw the wedding gifts that filled the hall. She unconsciously raised her eyebrows and asked, Someone in the Yun family is getting married? Is it Qingyan and Yiling? The old man hesitated for a moment, then asked weakly, These gifts are for you. Yun Luofeng frowned slightly. These gifts are for her? After a moment of silence, she raised her head and looked at the old man. Do you know who sent them? I'm not sure. The old man shook his head. Even the people from the Windfall Pavilion can't find out where these gifts came from. Is that so? Yun Luofeng curled the corners of her lips and slowly walked towards the gifts. In that instant, an imposing aura surged from her body and her slightly raised eyes were filled with condescension. If that's the case, then burn them. Boom. As soon as she finished speaking, a flame formed from spiritual power surged out from her palm. The flame quickly rushed towards the betrothal gifts. In an instant, the betrothal gifts were all turned into ashes. The young girl dusted her hands and turned to look at the dumbfounded old man. She smiled and said, This way, the matter of the gifts has been resolved. The old man fiercely gulped. It seemed that his granddaughter was more domineering, unlike him who had hesitated for so many days over these gifts. Ha! The old man laughed heartily. Xiaofeng, let's go. Tell me what happened in the Ning family so I can be happy. The old man understood his granddaughter's temper very well. Since she had returned, it meant that the matter of the Ning family's fourth elder had been resolved. Since that was the case, he could rest assured and listen to Yun Luofeng's recount of what happened in the Ning family, so that he could brag about it in the future. However, the old man only thought that Yun Luofeng had violently abused the fourth elder. He never thought that the little girl following behind Yun Luofeng would have such a powerful identity. What was even more unexpected was that Yun Luofeng and Tianyo were old friends. After hearing everything, the old man was dumbfounded on the spot. He stared with his mouth agape and couldn't recover for a long time. Inside the inn, the man had his back to the door as he quietly listened to his subordinate's report. After a long while, he finally reacted and a smile appeared on his handsome and demonic face. You said that Yun Luofeng burned the gifts? Reporting to the young master, I saw it with my own eyes. I have come to report this to the young master. It's fine, Bai Su smiled and waved her hand. You may leave. Yes, young master. The guard cupped his fists and stood up from the ground. He turned around and walked out of the room, closing the door behind him. After he left, the entire room regained its tranquility. After a long while, the man's playful voice slowly echoed, This Yun Luofeng is much more interesting than her mother. At this moment, the beautiful woman who was standing beside the man pursed her lips slightly and looked at the man's handsome face with a complicated gaze. Master I Bai Su, said. Bai Luofeng, Bai, Xian said. Luo Bai, Yun, that's right. Bai Su raised her eyebrows and stroked her chin. Because I realized that this woman is useful to the Bai family. The beautiful woman was a bit surprised. Young master, Yun Luofeng is only the general's granddaughter. Why would she be useful to the Bai family? She's very talented. Bai Su's eyes narrowed. She's the same kind of person as me. If I'm not wrong, the reason why the Xiao family had attacked the Bai family was because this woman had plotted against us. That's why I'm interested in her. Chapter 501. It had been a long time since he had met a woman who could pique his interest. And this woman, her achievements in the future would be extraordinary. A person like Yun Luofeng is very dangerous. If we try to rope her in, we will not be able to control her. Only a handsome man will work on her. Bai Su's eyes carried a hint of a smile. After all, from the information I have gathered about her, this woman is infatuated with Yun Zhao's beauty and often teases him. For this, I can only sacrifice my own beauty. Young master. The beautiful woman pursed her red lips and her demonic eyes carried a hint of confusion. This subordinate thinks that young master is too attentive towards Yun Luofeng. She is only an ordinary person. Ordinary person? Bai Su glanced coldly at the beautiful woman. When I first met that woman, she was only a high spiritualist. She was not even an earth spiritualist. But how long has it been? She has already become a celestial spiritualist? With such talent, I'm afraid even I cannot compare to her. Yet, you say that she is an ordinary person? The beautiful woman's body trembled and her beautiful eyes widened in shock. In such a short period of time, she has become a celestial spiritualist? How powerful must her talent be? No wonder the young master is so attentive towards her. He did not hesitate to sacrifice his own beauty to make her return to the Bai family. But, thinking of the secret love that she had buried in her heart, the beautiful woman's face carried a hint of bitterness. Her heart felt as if it had been pierced by a needle. Nightfall. The general's residence was exceptionally quiet under the moonlight. Yun Luofeng sat in the pavilion and gently stroked Milk Tea's hair. Her slightly narrowed eyes flashed with light. This time, Xiaobai did not follow her back. Because Tianya had said that he needed her help with something, she had brought him along. That was why she had lost a little follower behind her. Milk Tea, did you really see that person go to the inn? Milk Tea nodded her head. When Yun Luofeng had burned the betrothal gifts, she had felt an unconcealed breath. Because of this, she had secretly sent Milk Tea to follow that person. She wanted to use this to find out who had sent the betrothal gifts. Did you find out who that person was? Yun Luofeng frowned slightly and asked in a low voice. Just as Yun Luofeng asked this question, the surrounding air suddenly became thin. The light breeze intensified and the leaves rustled. Since you're here, come out. Her hand that was caressing the Milk Tea paused, and she still said without raising her head. I didn't expect you to be so vigilant. I really didn't misjudge you. A crescent-colored robe landed in front of the young girl. The corners of the man's lips curled up into a demonic smile. His smiling eyes stared at the young girl in front of him. The betrothal gifts from the Yun family were given by you? Yun Luofeng's voice was cold as he asked. Don't you think we are the same kind of people? Bai Su's smile deepened, and an evil light gathered in her eyes. If you're willing to marry me, I'll give you supreme glory. Yun Luofeng raised his head slightly. His black eyes were filled with a domineering light as they gradually landed on Bai Su. The glory I want, I will obtain it with my own 2 hands. Not given by anyone. Moreover, I don't think you have the ability to do so. I can't, but Yun Xiao can. Bai Su took a few steps closer to Yun Luofeng. His slightly narrowed eyes revealed a dangerous light. He waved his hand and grabbed her arm tightly. He then smiled coldly and said, Yun Luofeng, believe me. As long as I have enough time, Yun Xiao will not be able to defeat me. Chapter 502. Get lost. Yun Luofeng's expression sank. She flung her arm fiercely and flung his hand away. A loud cry escaped from the young girl's lips. Her eyes were filled with incomparable self-confidence and dominance, as well as disdain towards him. A dark light flashed in Bai Su's eyes and the smile on his handsome face slowly disappeared. He stared fixedly at Yun Luofeng and suddenly laughed icily. Everyone says that the eldest lady of the general's household is incomparably lustful and often takes liberties with the guards by her side. I had thought that I could make you join the Bai family as long as I could use my charm to trick you into joining the Bai family. Unfortunately, I was wrong. You are indeed different from those love-struck fools. Yun Luofeng raised an eyebrow, and then, in this lifetime, the only man she would tease was Yun Xiao alone. The more you reject me, the more interested I become in you. Bai Su's lips curled into a demonic angle once again. His crescent-colored robes fluttered in the night breeze and his jet-black hair danced in the wind, gently brushing past his handsome face. His voice carried an extremely seductive air as if it was luring people towards him. However, faced with such a handsome man, Yun Luofeng remained unmoved. She lazily rose to her feet from the pavilion and shot Bai Su a demonic look. Unfortunately, I have no interest in you. Once she had said her piece, she did not spare the man behind her another glance and walked towards the rear courtyard. When she was halfway there, she stopped in her tracks and said without turning her head, "The young master of the Bai family actually trespassed into someone else's residence at night. If word of this gets out, I'm afraid the Bai family's reputation won't be good." Bai Su narrowed his eyes and the aura from his body became even more dangerous. His robes fluttered and his handsome features became incomparably sinister under the moonlight. "Yun Luofeng, I will have you." His lips curled into an eerie smile and no longer had his demonic charm. He stared fixedly in the direction that the young girl had left as he spoke sinisterly. "If I can't have you, I can only destroy you." He would not let anyone else have what he could not have. Hence, he could only destroy her. "Young master." The beautiful woman had unknowingly appeared beside the man. She bit her lip and looked at Yun Luofeng's departing figure with a complicated expression. This woman? It doesn't seem like it's that easy for her to become a member of the Bai clan. Furthermore, when you weren't here, the Bai clan was hit hard. It was all because of this woman. Why did you? Bai Su did not say anything. Her gaze remained fixed in the direction where Yun Luofeng had disappeared. There was a look of contemplation in her eyes. "Young master." The beautiful girl subconsciously clenched her fists, jealousy surging in her heart. Why wouldn't Yun Luofeng accept such an outstanding man like the young master? If it were him, he would definitely agree immediately. "Let's go back." As Bai Su turned around, his sleeves fluttered in the breeze. The dark night made his eyes look even more profound. Bang! Yun Luofeng closed the door and was just about to turn around when a young boy wearing a snow-white robe appeared in front of her, causing her to freeze in place. The boy looked like he was carved from jade. His big, bright eyes shone brightly. His rosy lips were slightly pouting, and his voice was childish. "Master, it seems like you're not happy to see me." "Not happy?" She was obviously scared stiff. Yun Luofeng recovered her senses with great difficulty. "Xiao Mo, can you leave the Divine Grimoire space now?" Chapter 503. Master. Bang. Little Mo opened his arms and rushed towards Yun Luofeng. His soft body fiercely collided into the young girl's embrace, his two short arms tightly hugging the slender waist in front of him. "Ever since you broke through to the celestial spirit realm, I can appear in your world for a short period of time." He raised his cute little face, a brilliant smile on his tender face. "Then when can you stay for a long time?" Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and asked. "This." Little Mo's finger gently tapped his lips, his blinking eyes filled with doubt. "Actually, I'm not too sure. When Master breaks through to that realm, I'll naturally be able to sense it." Yun Luofeng gently stroked his chin, his black eyes filled with contemplation. At this moment, there was a bang and Qin Yen staggered in. Her delicate little face was as red as an apple as she panted and said, "Miss, something has happened." "What is it?" Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and looked at Qin Yen, asking calmly. "Miss, it's Zhonglinger." "Zhonglinger?" Qin Yen wiped the sweat on her forehead and said anxiously, "She was captured by the Tian family." Yun Luofeng's expression sank little by little. Zhonglinger, as the vice-commander of the Flame Legion, had been out on a mission and had not returned for a long time. So she had been captured by the Tian family. I never thought that other than dealing with Tian Ku, there would be other people from the Tian family who would come knocking on our door. Yun Luofeng's narrowed eyes flashed with killing intent. However, I remember that Zhonglinger's mission this time has nothing to do with the Tian family. Why did she fall into their hands? "Miss, it's like this. According to the other members of the Flame Legion who escaped, Zhonglinger's mission this time was near the Tian family. Unfortunately, she just happened to bump into the Tian family's team." Qin Yen took a deep breath and reported everything she had heard to Yun Luofeng. Within the Tian family's team, there was a person who was Zhong Linger's elder brother. Zhong Linger's elder brother? Yun Luofeng was stunned. Zhong Linger is from the Tian family? That's not right. According to the information I obtained, Zhong Linger is just a daughter of an ordinary family. When did she get involved with the Tian family? Miss, that man from the Tian family is Zhong Linger's half-brother. Speaking up to this point, Qing Yan was a little angry. She tightly clenched her small fists. That year, Zhong Linger's father was seriously injured when he was training outside. Fortunately, a young girl from a commoner's family saved him. Who would have thought that this animal would see that the young girl was quite beautiful? After he recovered from his injuries, he raped her. That girl wanted to commit suicide, but she was saved by her childhood sweetheart fiancé. Moreover, he didn't despise her and married her. Yun Luofeng laughed coldly. This is really the real-life story of the farmer and the snake. The farmer and the snake? Qing Yan looked at Yun Luofeng in surprise. Miss, how come this servant has never heard of this story? This story describes the situation of Zhong Linger's parents. Because you don't know if the person you save will bite the hand that feeds you. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. So, I never save anyone unrelated to me. Qing Yan, you must remember, we are not saints. There is no need to pity others. Otherwise, the next mother of Zhong Linger will be you. Chapter 504. Qing Yan nodded and said solemnly, Miss, this servant understands. All right, you can continue with what's coming next. Yun Luofeng raised his eyes slightly and stared at the little servant girl standing in front of him. Previously, she had only asked the people from Luofeng Pavilion to investigate the background of the army members, but to respect their privacy, she did not investigate further. This was also the result of not knowing that Zhong Linger was from the Tian family. Qing Yan calmed herself down and continued, Miss, after that young girl was raped, she became pregnant. And those people from the great forces will be able to sense their own bloodline. Therefore, when that person from the Tian family passed by, he felt that the bloodline in Zhong Linger's body came from him. In order to not let the bloodline of the Tian family spread outside, the Tian family took Zhong Linger back home. Yun Luofeng raised the corner of his lips, and there was a hint of coldness in his eyes. After that, did the Tian family realize that Zhong Linger had no talent and chased her out of the Tian family? But after this meeting, they found out that Zhong Linger had broken through to the high spiritual realm, so they forcefully brought her back to the family? The Tian family was no different from the Xiao family. When the family's disciples were useful, they would bring them back home. If they found out that the disciple was useless, they would immediately expel her from the family, and she wouldn't even be worthy of inheriting the family name. Miss, you're right. This is indeed the situation. Qing Yan sighed softly, and her tone was worried. Qing Yan, Yun Luofeng stroked his chin and paused for a moment before saying, There's something I don't understand. When Tian Ku and Tian Yu came to Long Yuan country, why didn't they discover Zhong Linger's identity? The corner of Qing Yan's mouth twitched. Actually, the reason is very simple. Zhong Linger's father is only from the side branch of the Tian family, and there's still a gap between him and Tian Ku's and Tian Yu's direct bloodline. Maybe because of this, they didn't recognize Zhong Linger. Or maybe at that time, their eyes were on Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao, so they didn't notice Zhong Linger. I see. Yun Luofeng's smile was filled with a trace of evil. This evil lingered around her, making the whole room gloomy and terrifying. Qing Yan, call Yi Ling. Both of you follow me to the Tian family. Yes, miss. Qing Yan's expression immediately turned solemn, and her clear black eyes shone with a bright light. What about me? Suddenly, a small hand tugged on Yun Luofeng's sleeve. Then, the boy's pitiful voice rang out. Only then did Qing Yan notice the little boy who had been standing beside Yun Luofeng. She asked in surprise, Miss, whose child is this? Little Mo's eyes flashed a few times. He held Yun Luofeng's hand tightly. I am her son. Son? Qing Yan was petrified on the spot. Her mouth opened so wide that it could swallow an elephant. She stared at Yun Luofeng in disbelief. Young Miss actually had a son? But before Qing Yan could walk out of her shock, She heard the little boy's childish voice again. Mommy, when is Yun Zhao's daddy coming back? Boom. A bolt of lightning struck down from the clear sky, and the light smoke in the midst of the petrification was directly split apart, and its body was on the verge of collapse. It was too shocking. Miss actually had a child with Yun Xiao? Does the patriarch know about this? Little Mo. Yun Luofeng frowned and gave little Mo a warning look. Then, he turned his gaze towards Qin Yan. He likes to talk nonsense. Yun Xiao and I have only known each other for less than a year. How could we have such a big child? Chapter 505. Little Mo blinked his eyes and said with grievance, Mother, do you recognize me? You and father have known each other for many years. This time, he entered the Yun family because of you. You can't not recognize us. Yun Luofeng's face instantly darkened. The aura on his body gradually surged. He looked at little Mo darkly. Looks like you don't want to stay here. The girl's undisguised aura shocked little Mo. But for the sake of Yun Xiao marrying Yun Luofeng as soon as possible, he was going all out. Mother, you've abandoned me for so many years. You can't abandon me again. Little Mo cried out and hugged Yun Luofeng's thigh tightly. He cried bitterly, I've missed you so much these past few years. Yun Luofeng slightly narrowed his eyes. The dangerous aura became stronger and stronger. Little Mo was so scared that he shrunk his neck and looked at her pitifully. He was like an abandoned puppy, wagging his tail in front of his master and begging for mercy. Miss, Qin Yan finally broke out of her petrified state. She felt the aura on Yun Luofeng's body and hurriedly pulled little Mo to her side. Although you're the person this servant admires the most and this servant has always listened to your orders, he's still your son. It's not good to abandon him, Yun Luofeng softly sighed. Qin Yan, let's go to the Tian family first. I'll talk to you when I come back. Just as Yun Luofeng opened the door and was about to walk out, there was a bang. The old man who was hiding outside the door and eavesdropping stumbled into the room and fell on his face. Yun Luofeng's face darkened. What are you doing here? This. The old man touched his hair and chuckled. I heard a child crying, so I wanted to know what was going on. Xiaofeng, you're really something. You even hid the fact that you have a son from me. Are you purposely trying to prevent me from holding my great-grandson? Yun Luofeng felt a headache and rubbed his temples. I still have something urgent to do. When I come back, I'll use a blood test to prove that this guy isn't my son. If I say he's my great-grandson, then he's my great-grandson. The old man glared at Yun Luofeng. When he looked at little Mo, his expression turned into a smile. Good grandson, come and let me, your great-grandfather, hug you. Little Mo blinked and obediently called out, Great-grandfather, you can't let those bad people marry mother. She belongs to Yun Zhao's father. AI, how obedient. Don't worry, great-grandfather won't let those people have their way. The old man chuckled as he pulled Xiao Mo into his arms and fiercely ravaged him. Feng, look at this child. He's so similar to you. My intuition can't be wrong. He's your son. Why don't you do a blood test right now? Yun Luofeng's eyebrows twitched. She scrutinized little Mo and couldn't find any resemblance between the two of them. This old man had gone crazy thinking about his grandson. Even a random kid on the street would look like her. Grandpa, I really have something urgent to attend to. We'll talk about the blood test when I get back. Yun Luofeng frowned slightly. Even at a time like this, she still wanted to reason with the old man. However, the old man only smiled mysteriously. Girl, you have a lot of wicked ideas. Who knows what will happen when you get back? So, when I came in, I had someone prepare 2 basins of water. You can do a blood test right now. Yun Luofeng's breathing became uneven. In the end, she chose to accept the old man's cunning suggestion. Chapter 506. All right, let them come in. Just as she finished speaking, a servant girl walked in with a basin of clear water. She placed it on the table and retreated respectfully. Give me the scimitar, Yun Luofeng said as she extended her hand to Qin Yan. Yes, Mississippi, Qin Yan responded respectfully. Then, she pulled out the scimitar from her waist and handed it to Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng held the scimitar in her hand and gently slid it across her finger. Instantly, a drop of blood fell into the clear water. After doing all this, Yun Luofeng handed the scimitar to little Emo. "It's your turn." "Good." Master Luofeng took the scimitar from little Emo and said gently, "You only need to cut it gently. It won't hurt." "All right," little Emo replied obediently. However, no one saw the smile that flashed across his eyes the moment he lowered them. However, little Emo still pretended to be timid. He took the scimitar with trembling hands and closed his eyes as he slid it across his finger. Seeing little Mo's pale little face, Master Luofeng's heart ached. He hurriedly took little Mo's hand and breathed into his mouth. Yun Luofeng did not speak. Her eyes were fixed on the clear water on the table. Then, she saw that the drops of blood that had been separated on both sides seemed to be pushed forward by a force until the two sides met and fused together. Instantly, Yun Luofeng was stunned. The blood dripping was a success? How was that possible? How could she and little Emo have a successful blood dripping? Haha. Master Luofeng laughed heartily. His old face was full of excitement. "This child and I hit it off so well. I've long said that he's my great-grandson. Feng, so you and Yunxiao have already progressed to this level. I've been worried about you too." Yun Luofeng's face darkened. "Little Emo is 5 now. If he's my son, did I give birth to him when I was 10? Master Luofeng thought for a moment and said, "That's not impossible. Ordinary people cannot have children at 10, but you're a doctor. You can create too many miracles. If you say that you gave birth to a child when you were 10, I believe you." Yun Luofeng regretted letting little Emo leave the divine grimoire space and causing so much trouble. "Follow me." She pulled Xiao Emo away from the old man's arms and quickly walked out of the room. Once she was sure that Master Dongfeng and Qinyan had not followed her, she threw his body fiercely onto the grass. She raised her brows and asked, "Xiao, tell me, what's going on with the blood test?" Little Emo rubbed his butt and pouted, "Master, I'm the guardian of the divine book of medicine. I'm just a spirit, and as a spirit, I don't have blood. However, I've formed a contract with you, so I only used a little of your blood just now. In other words, those 2 drops of blood are mine?" Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes dangerously. "Little Emo, I didn't think you had this kind of ability. Tell me, how are you going to explain this to me?" Little Emo felt wronged as he crawled up from the grass. "It's all because of that bastard Baisu. He actually dared to have designs on you, Master. Hence, I had purposely pretended to be your son. My goal was to let the world know that you have given birth to Yun Zhao's child. In this way, Baisu, that bastard, would no longer pester Master." Chapter 507. Yun Xiao was not around, so he had to protect his master for him. He had to prevent a group of people with ill intentions from taking advantage of him. Seeing that Yun Luofeng didn't say anything, little Emo started chattering again. "Master, Baisu is nothing. He can't be compared to Yun Xiao. He's just using you. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have lied." "Is that so?" Yun Luofeng raised the corners of his lips and his aura suddenly darkened. "Then should I thank you for helping me get rid of those people with ill intentions?" "Of course." Xiao Emo placed his hands on his hips and his face filled with pride. "Master, don't worry. Baisu won't bother you anymore. You're already pregnant with Yun Zhao's child. If he knows what's good for him, he'll give up on you." Even though Yun Luofeng's aura was piercingly cold, his beautiful face lit up with a smile. "Since you've helped me get rid of this trouble, I should reward you. As such, I'll reward you with a month in the grimoire space." Xiao Mo's body trembled and his eyes filled with fear. "Master, no." "Remember," Yun Luofeng glanced at him darkly, "you're not allowed to take one step out of the grimoire space for 1 month." Xiao Mo was so aggrieved that he nearly cried. He had been stuck in the grimoire space for so many years and was finally able to leave for a moment. In the end, he was locked up by his master for another month. It had been fine being unable to leave the grimoire space in the past, but now that he could leave, he had to continue to be locked up. How could he tolerate this? "Master, I was wrong." Xiao Mo tugged at Yun Luofeng's sleeve and cried bitterly, "I won't do it again. Please forgive me for the last time." "You know you were wrong?" Yun Luofeng gently lifted Xiao Mo's chin with his finger and narrowed his eyes. Do you dare to do this again? Xiao Imo shook his head and hurriedly made a solemn vow. Get up. Yun Luofeng waved her hand and lifted Xiao Imo up. She stared deeply at the little boy in front of her and said, I know you're doing this for me and Yun Xiao. You're afraid that Bai Su will not let me go. However, you have underestimated him. That man has no feelings for me and only wants to use me. Even if he believes that I have a son, he will still pester me. Little Imo blinked and said apologetically, Master, did I cause trouble for you? At least you still know this. Yun Luofeng swept a glance at him. If I were anywhere else, in front of other people, you could pretend to be my son. But in the Yun family, you definitely can't. They are my family. I don't want any lies to haunt them. Master, I'll explain everything to your grandfather now, okay? Little Imo knew that she had gone too far this time, so her tone was filled with caution. Yun Luofeng shook his head. That old man is too old. He can't take this kind of torment. You made him fall from heaven to hell. How could he endure it? What's more, the blood test was successful. Even if you explain, he won't believe you. Master, I'm sorry. Forget it. Yun Luofeng looked at Xiao Imo again. Since he has misunderstood, let him continue to misunderstand. From now on, you are not allowed to act like this in the Yun family. In other words, it didn't matter what he did outside of the Yun family's territory. Only the Yun family. This was the pure land she wanted to protect. Xiao Mo's eyes brightened and she smiled brightly. Master, I understand. It's almost time for me to leave the divine grimoire space. I'll go back first and come see you tomorrow. Chapter 508. As he spoke, Xiao Mo's body gradually became transparent until it was blown away by the wind. My lady! Qing Yan had just arrived when she saw that Yun Luofeng was the only one in the courtyard. Xiao Imo, who had been dragged away by her, was nowhere to be seen. Miss, where's the young master? Qing Yan blinked her eyes in surprise. Could it be that he was silenced by you? Yun Luofeng glanced at Qing Yan. This glance sent chills down Qing Yan's spine. She hurriedly explained, My lady, I was just joking. It's really a joke. But it's strange, why has the young master disappeared? He's gone to attend to some matters. Call Yi Ling and we'll leave immediately. Yes, my lady. Qing Yan did not dare to ask any further and replied respectfully. Her priority now was to save Zhong Ling. At this moment, in an inn not far from Long Yuan country, the little old man was leisurely sipping on his tea. His wrinkled face was like a chrysanthemum flower, lit up with a smile. Ever since I tasted Yun Luofeng's spiritual tea, I've become much pickier. Aside from this spiritual tea, the other teas are not to my liking. Lin Ruobai rested her chin on her hand and asked in a bored manner, Old man, why did you want me to follow you here? If you have something to do, hurry up and finish it. I still need to go back and serve my master. Don't be in such a hurry, there's something that only someone with your physique can help me get. The little old man spoke in a leisurely manner. When I get the medicinal herbs, I'll give half to your master. Take it as a reward for using you for a period of time. Lin Ruobai pursed her lips. What about me? Am I just a free worker? Xiao Bai, I won't use you for nothing. This time, you'll get the most precious thing. That thing is much more precious than medicinal herbs. The little old man turned to look at Lin Ruobai and spoke seriously. Lin Ruobai's eyes lit up. What's that? Well. The little old man gently stroked his long beard and chuckled. That's a precious experience. You grew up on Mount Spirit God and have never come into contact with the rest of the world. I've brought you out this time so you can gain the experience of exploring. Isn't the thing you have the most? Before he could finish the word, precious, Lin Ruobai picked up a cup of tea and threw it at the old man. Bang! With a muffled sound, the little old man's head instantly swelled up, and the tea spilled all over him. He shook his head helplessly. Youngsters nowadays are really hot-tempered. I was just joking. Why take it so seriously? Lin Ruobai snorted coldly, turned his head, and did not look at him again. All right, Xiaobai girl, I won't argue with you this time. We should welcome our guests. Guest? Lin Ruobai was stunned for a moment. When he turned his head to look, The door was pushed open, and a group of people dressed in green robes appeared in the room. The leader of those people was a middle-aged man. He cupped his fists and said respectfully, "Uncle Xianxia, I finally found you." The little old man smiled faintly. "Previously, I met two people who randomly called themselves uncles, and now there's another one. Why, is it popular to recognize relatives these days?" The middle-aged man laughed awkwardly. "Uncle Xianxia, I'm a Xian from the Xian family. According to seniority, I should address you as uncle. I've come here this time to bring Uncle Xianxia home." This old man has always been alone. "I don't have such a thing as a home. Please go back. Don't force me to take action." Chapter 509. Xianxia frowned slightly. These people were really like leeches sticking to him. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get rid of them. "Uncle Xianxia, how can you say such words? The Xian family is your family." This junior was ordered by the elders to find Uncle Xianxia's whereabouts. However, Uncle Xianxia has been hiding for so many years. "It's really hard for me to find you." Xianxian smiled and took 2 steps forward. No matter what grudges Uncle Xianxia had with the Xian family, now that so many years have passed, it's time to resolve it. "Resolve?" Xianxia sneered. "That year, if not for the Xian family scheming against me, my beloved woman wouldn't have left. Tell me, how do you think this grudge should be resolved?" "Uncle Xianxia, the Xian family is doing this for your own good. Since young, your talent is outstanding. How can an ordinary woman be compared to you? The Xian family only found the most suitable woman for Uncle Xianxia. Who knew Uncle Xianxia would be so hot-blooded and go against the order? In other words, the Xian family didn't do anything wrong. The one at fault was Xianxia, who asked Xianxia to not marry the woman chosen by the Xian family and be with a slut. That's right, in the eyes of everyone in the Xian family, the woman Xianxia fell in love with was a slut. Otherwise, why would she want to dominate Xianxia and not allow Xianxia to choose an easier path? Xianxia curled his lips and looked at the middle-aged man with murderous intent. "Why should I listen to your Xian family's orders? What right does the Xian family have to order me? Just because I was a member of the Xian family? If that's the case, I'll just leave the Xian family. But why do you keep pestering me after I left?" His eyes turned sharp. He no longer had that shameless face he had in front of Yun Luofeng. "Uncle Xianxia, back then, you injured many people in the family in a fit of rage. Is that not enough to appease you? Plus, it was because the woman you loved didn't trust you enough that it led to the final result." Xianxia narrowed his eyes. "In other words, it's all Fu Sheng's fault." "That's right, it's all that woman's fault. From Tianxian's point of view, it was all that woman's fault for seducing Xianxia. Otherwise, Xianxia wouldn't have abandoned the Xian family." Xianxia was so angry that he laughed. "If your wife was lying on the same bed with another man, would you misunderstand? If you misunderstand your wife, is it because you don't trust her enough? Of course, if the Xian family didn't knock him out, this wouldn't have happened. It was then that he began to study medicine diligently, all so that he would not be schemed against by others again." "Uncle Xianxia," Tianxian's expression changed. "Women are different from men. If a woman shares a bed with another man, no matter what happens between them, this woman must die. Men, on the other hand, can have multiple wives and concubines. That woman leaving you isn't the Xian family's fault. It's just that she's too jealous. Such a jealous woman, how could she be qualified to enter our Xian family? Impudent!" Bang! Xianxia waved his hand, and instantly, a powerful force slammed into the middle-aged man's chest. His body was sent flying out of the room, and blood unceasingly flowed out of his mouth. Just as he was about to crawl up from the ground, the old man who had been sitting in the room had unknowingly appeared in front of him. With a lift of his palm, he was lifted up from the ground. At that moment, the little old man's expression was terrifying, and his gaze was frighteningly sinister as he stared at Tianxian. "Who allowed you to speak to this old man like this?" The middle-aged man wiped away the blood stain at the corner of his mouth. "Uncle Xianxia, my father, is your biological younger brother. Are you going to act against your own nephew?" Chapter 510. This was the reason why Tianxian dared to say such a thing. In the Tian family, his father was Tianxuan's only relative, so it was impossible for him to kill him. You're that bastard's son? The little old man grabbed Tianxuan's clothes tightly. I was just wondering why your name sounded so familiar. So you're his son. I've been so good to him since he was young, but he colluded with those people to plot against me. Bang. Tianxin once again flung Tianxin away, his eyes cold. Go back and tell that bastard that after I find Fu Sheng, I will go back and settle the score with them. Don't think that I've been tolerating you all these years. I just don't have the time to settle the score with you. And you all think that I've already forgiven the Tian family for what they've done, and use my name to stir up trouble everywhere. Tianxian was stunned for a moment, his face filled with anxiety. Uncle Tianxian, you can't lose your head because of a woman. Have you forgotten? That year, because of jealousy, that woman not only left you, but also secretly sent an assassin to finish you off. Hearing this, the little old man glanced at him with a smile that did not seem like a smile. His tone was indifferent, as if he had seen through everything. Are you sure that the person sent to kill me was Fu Sheng? Tianxuan's heart suddenly trembled, and a trace of panic flashed across his eyes. Could it be that Uncle Tianxian knew that the person sent to kill him was from the Tian family? Impossible. If he really knew about this, he would not have allowed the Tian family to run amok until today. He must be just trying to scare them. Uncle Tianxian, I'm sure that it was that woman Fu Sheng who wanted to kill you. My father had long seen that woman's evil intentions, so he helped others to do such a thing. We're all doing this for your own good. You can scram now. Tianxuan's expression gradually became impatient. Or do you want this old man to throw you out? But this old man has never held back. If you accidentally fall to your death, that bastard father of yours will definitely come after me. Tianxian gritted his teeth, steeled his heart, and waved his hand. Let's go. The moment before he left, Tianxian turned his head back to look at the little old man. There was a gloomy look in his eyes, but in the end he turned around and left without looking back. As he watched those people leave, Lin Ruabai took out a piece of pastry and put it in his mouth. He asked incoherently, Old man, why did you let them go? If he wasn't wrong, the old man did indeed exude killing intent in that instant. She didn't understand why he didn't kill them. Hee, the little old man sneered twice. The members of the Tian family won't live for long. Today, I still have other matters to attend to, so I'll forgive him for now. Once I'm done with my business, I'll properly settle the debt from that year with them. Seeing this, Lin Ruabai didn't say anything more and enjoyed the delicious desserts on the table. Have you guys heard? I heard that Long Yuan Country's general's granddaughter, Yun Luofeng, has sent a letter of challenge to the Tian family, claiming that she will pay a visit to the Tian family soon. Just as the little old man turned around and was about to enter his room, a commotion came from downstairs, causing him to stop in his tracks. I've heard about this. It seems that the Tian family had captured her subordinates. Because of this, she sent a letter of challenge to the Tian family in a fit of anger. Speaking of which, what's the background of the Tian family? Why haven't I heard of them before? Letter of challenge? Tian family? The little old man's anger was ignited once again. He rushed into the room, picked up Lin Ruabai, and quickly ran out of the inn. Chapter 511. Old man, where are we going? Lin Ruabai was held in the little old man's hands and the wind blew past her ears. Her beautiful hair was in a mess, brushing past her delicate little face. To the Tian family. The little old man gritted his teeth and said, Lin Ruabai was just enjoying the food and didn't hear the discussion downstairs. Now that the little old man said those 3 words, she blinked her eyes blankly. Didn't you say you have something to do? Why are we going to the Tian family now? Isn't it because those bastards from the Tian family provoked our master? I'm going to support Yun Luofeng. Originally, he didn't plan to make a move on the Tian family so soon. However, those people were really daring to provoke Yun Luofeng. He had no choice but to go. But Lin Ruabai stretched out her hand in the direction of the inn. She was so wrong that her tears almost fell. My pastries? You should at least let me take them away. Tianya didn't care about Lin Ruabai's thoughts. He pulled her and ran forward. Because his speed was too fast, Lin Ruabai directly fainted in the air. Tian Mountain was where the Tian family was located. However, Tian Mountain was divided into many layers. Like a city, it was filled with people. The lowest layer was made up of ordinary people. The higher the layer, the stronger the power. As for the Tian family, they lived at the highest level. Miss, why do we have to send a letter of challenge to the Tian family and make it known to everyone? Qing Yan walked on the mountain road at the lowest level. She turned her head to look at Yun Luofeng in confusion, blinking her eyes curiously. In order to inform someone about this matter, Yun Luofeng's eyes slightly sank as he said, ever since Tianya left with Xiaobai, she didn't know where they went. If she wanted to inform Tianya, this was the only way. This was the purpose of her letter of challenge. Miss, who do you want to inform? Qing Yan became more and more curious. She stared at Yun Luofeng without blinking. Facing the little girl's curious gaze, Yun Luofeng smiled mysteriously, "You will know later." At the top of Sky Mountain, there was a mansion that towered into the clouds. This residence was luxurious and imposing, and it was the size of a city. It was unknown just how many disciples lived in this residence. At this moment, in the study room of the mansion, the old man stopped writing and frowned at the middle-aged man who came in to report. "Shin, how is the matter? Is that old thing Tianya willing to return to the Tian family?" "Father." The middle-aged man smiled bitterly. He said that he wanted to find the whereabouts of Fu Sheng and wasn't willing to return to the Tian family. "I think Tianya's heart isn't on our Tian family. Why not just give up?" "No." The old man exerted strength in his hand, and the brush in his hand was broken into two. With a gloomy face, he coldly said, "Tianya is a member of the Tian family. We must let him return to the Tian family." "Father, Tianya is so in love with that woman, fleeting life. Why don't we get someone to disguise themselves as her to seduce Tianya?" "No," the old man shook his head, "Tianya is no longer the him from decades ago. His medical skills are brilliant now. No disguise technique can escape his eyes." Tian Xian fell silent. After a long time, he opened his mouth and said, "Father, there are many outstanding people in the younger generation of the Tian family. We can nurture them. Why must it be Tianya?" The old man helplessly sighed. "Tianya is not only powerful, his medical skills are also brilliant. Even the Doctors' Association is below him. Such a person must belong to the Tian family, even if the Tian family has to obey his orders." Unfortunately, because he was hurt too deeply back then, he no longer cares about the Tian family. Chapter 5:12. By the way, Tian Xian seemed to have thought of something and asked, "I heard that some time ago, Tian Haoqing from the side family brought back a young lady. This young lady had already entered the Tian family a few years ago. The result of the test was that her talent was mediocre and she would never be able to step into the intermediate martial practitioner realm. However, in just a few years, she has already become a high martial practitioner." The old man raised his eyebrows. "Ask Tian Haoqing to bring this young lady to see me." "His father." Tian Xian hesitated and looked like he wanted to say something but stopped. "Is there anything else?" The old man glanced at him and asked. "Father, that young lady," Tian Xian frowned, "is the servant of the lady of the general's residence in Long Yuan country. The lady of the general's residence is furious and has challenged the Tian family." "The lady of the general's residence? How's her talent and strength?" the old man asked disapprovingly. Tian Xian thought for a while and replied, "Her talent is not bad. She has already become an earth spirit at the age of 15. This was because only the Ning family knew about what had happened to Yun Luofeng in the Ning family. Furthermore, in order to prevent Yun Luofeng from attracting trouble, the Ning family had sealed off all information about her. That was why these people did not know that she had already become a sky spirit. An earth spirit is simply an ant-like existence. There's nothing to be afraid of." The old man smiled faintly. "At that time, you can just find a branch family member who's an earth spirit to deal with her. A person with such a lowly status isn't worthy of the direct descendant of the Tian family." "Yes, father." Tian Xian cupped his fists respectfully and strode out of the door. Not long after, a disciple of the Tian family walked in with a young girl. Beside the young girl was a middle-aged man, and the man's eyebrows were somewhat similar to the young girl's. The middle-aged man was a little excited. He never thought that the high and mighty master would meet him one day. The old man nodded slightly and said indifferently, "This is your daughter?" "Yes, master." The middle-aged man hurriedly pushed the young lady and said anxiously, "Ling heir, when you see the master, quickly kneel down." However, the young lady beside him did not move. Her lively eyes were now filled with coldness. "Ling, kneel down." The middle-aged man shouted coldly and commanded loudly. Zhong Linger's lips curved into a mocking smile. "Zhong Linger, do not kneel to the heavens or the earth. I only kneel to my master. Who do you think you are to make me kneel?" Even though the middle-aged man knew that Zhong Linger had a stubborn temper, he didn't expect her to be so stubborn to this extent. He was so scared that cold sweat broke out all over his body, and he quickly kowtowed a few times. "Clan head, this girl just came back to the Tian family a few days ago. She still doesn't understand the rules. Clan head, please calm down." This damned girl, not only was she courting death, she even wanted to implicate him. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have brought her back. The old man snorted and said expressionlessly, "You really need to teach her some manners. Such a lack of etiquette. Moreover, a member of my Tian family, even if it's just a side branch, is much more honorable than that young miss of the general's mansion. Yet, you actually dared to recognize a lowly person like her as your master. It's obvious that you're willing to lower yourself." Zhong Linger smiled coldly. "My master is much better than you people. If you catch me, my master will come and save me. At that time, she will definitely destroy your entire Tian family." "Ha!" The old man laughed out loud. "Little girl, you think too highly of her. She's just an earth spirit, she can't threaten my Tian family." Chapter 5:13. Clearly, in the eyes of the old man, Yun Luofeng was just an insignificant existence. Zhong Linger snorted softly and turned her head away, not even looking at the old man. "Little girl," the old man's eyes darkened a bit as he sneered, "to be able to enter the Tian family, you should feel honored. No matter what, the Tian family's power is much stronger than the general's residence. You can only have a future if you contribute to the Tian family." Hearing the old man's words, Zhong Linger finally turned her gaze away and her lips curled into a mocking smile. "I wonder how you want me to contribute to the Tian family?" The elder's eyes flickered and he said with a fake smile, "Little girl, your tibia is extremely poor. Theoretically speaking, it's impossible for a medium spiritualist to break through, but you've become an advanced spiritualist." Zhong Linger did not interrupt the old man, but the mockery on her face grew stronger and stronger. "So," the old man paused for a moment before he continued, "I'm guessing that you must have obtained some precious treasure that allowed you to break through so quickly. I wonder if you're willing to take out that treasure and let the head of the family reward you?" This old man almost said that he wanted Zhong Linger to give the treasure to the Tian family. "Sorry," Zhong Linger curled her lips and her eyes were full of mockery. "I was able to break through to my current level because of my master's training. I don't have any treasure like you said." The old man's face suddenly darkened and he narrowed his eyes. "Do you think I'm an idiot? What ability does Yun Luofeng have to help a person with such a poor bone to break through to the high martial artist realm? As a disciple of the Tian family, you're hiding something like this. Your sin is unforgivable." "Tian family?" When these two words fell into Zhong Linger's ears, hatred appeared in her eyes. "My surname is Zhong, I don't believe in the heavens, and I'm not a disciple of the Tian family." "Presumptuous." Slap. When the middle-aged man heard Zhong Linger's rebellious words, he slapped her. In an instant, her delicate and cute little face turned red and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. "Rebellious girl, who allowed you to speak to the master like this? If it wasn't for me, where would you be in this world? Now that you dare to disobey, immediately kneel and apologize to the master." Zhong Linger clenched her fists and sneered, "I'd rather not be born into this world than have a biological father like you. No, you're not worthy to be my father, you're just a beast." "Shut." The middle-aged man stared at her and said, "Your mother is just a village woman from the countryside. To be my child, it's your mother's fortune. Otherwise, with someone like you, you will never be able to step into the Tian family for the rest of your life. Now kneel down." Zhong Linger's eyes of Ling Zhong of Ling of Ling of Ling Ling and Zhong of Ling Linger of. The middle-aged man kicked Zhong Linger's knee. In an instant, Zhong Linger's knee suddenly fell to the ground. However, just as she was about to kneel down, she suddenly stopped an inch away from the ground. Her legs trembled, her face was pale, and sweat rolled down from her forehead, staining the ground in front of her. The old man looked at Zhong of Linger in surprise. He didn't think that under such a powerful attack, she would still be able to not kneel on the ground. This kind of perseverance was enough to shock people. Unfortunately, the old man didn't know that in the half a year in the Yun family, the army had received a devil-like training. In this kind of training, everyone had developed an incomparably strong perseverance. Chapter 5:14. Little girl, your willpower isn't bad. I wonder if you can withstand my coercion. The old man smiled faintly. Then, the aura from his body expanded and filled the entire room. Under such a powerful coercion, the middle-aged man and the other disciples of the Tian family could no longer hold on and fell to the ground. Only Zhong Linger was still struggling to hold on. She used all her strength to support herself on the ground and bit her lips. Instantly, the smell of blood spread from her mouth and was swallowed by her. The old man's eyes gradually changed. Then, he shook his head regretfully. What a pity. You're a good seedling. If you had obtained that treasure and returned to the Tian family, perhaps your achievements would have been extraordinary by now. From the old man's point of view, Zhong Linger had such power because she had obtained some sort of treasure. She had no idea that her achievements were inseparable from Yun Luofeng. Furthermore, she had arrogantly believed that if Zhong Linger had not followed Yun Luofeng, her achievements would have been even greater. Bang! Zhong Linger's body finally could no longer hold on and she fell heavily to the ground. From the beginning to the end, her knees never touched the ground. Even in the end, she chose to let her entire body fall to the ground. Take her away. The old man waved his hand with an expressionless face. Also, you must obtain the treasure in her hands. With that treasure, even without Tianya, the Tian family can still walk on the path of prosperity. Tianya, aren't you very arrogant? If that's the case, then I will surpass you. Let's see how arrogant you can be when you face the Tian family in the future. Celestial Mountain. On a rugged and uneven mountain path, a young girl dressed in a snow-white dress slowly walked across the mountain path. Her feet stepped on the fallen leaves, making a rustling sound. Behind the young girl were two attendants, one male and one female. Both of them held long swords in their hands as they followed closely behind. Bang! Suddenly, the sound of a fierce battle could be heard from the road ahead. However, even after hearing the sound, the young girl remained unmoved. A lazy smile hung on her beautiful face. Master, it seems like someone is fighting. Qin Yen heard the commotion in front of her and raised her head to look at the young girl before her. Ignore them. Let's continue. Bang! Just as he finished speaking, a black figure fell from the sky and landed heavily in front of Yun Luofeng. The man in black's face was covered with a piece of black cloth, and his chest was dyed red with blood. His hands were tightly covering his injured chest, and he kept coughing out blood. Save me! The man in black looked at Yun Luofeng beside him, and his hoarse voice sounded intermittently. At this moment, a few men in robes descended from the sky. They looked coldly at Yun Luofeng, who was passing by. Little girl, I advise you not to meddle in other people's business. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. Facing this person's warning, Yun Luofeng's lips twitched. I'm just passing by. You guys can continue. Hearing Yun Luofeng's voice, the black-clothed man's eyes were filled with despair. However, his gaze quickly became resolute, as if he was ready to face death with equanimity. Brat! The man in robes burst into laughter. He then stepped forward and kicked the man in black fiercely. He then smiled maliciously and said, I never thought that you'd have such guts. You even dare to barge into the Tian family home. You should feel lucky that you've not disturbed the master of the Tian family. Otherwise, you would know what it means to live a life worse than death. The black-clothed man laughed icily. As long as I'm still alive, I will kill everyone in the Tian family and avenge my master. Chapter 5:15. Ha! Kill everyone in our Tian family? The man in robes seemed to have heard a funny joke and couldn't help but laugh out loud. The people behind him also laughed out loud. The way they looked at the man in black became more and more disdainful. After a long time, the man in robe finally stopped laughing and coldly said, "With just you, I would like to see what ability you have to kill everyone in our Tian family." The man in black's voice was cold. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. "If I didn't fall into your trap, I would have wiped out your Tian family long ago. No matter why you failed, a loss is a loss. In order to prevent you from living, I will send you to heaven now." Swish! The man in robe pulled out the long sword in his hand and pointed it at the man in black. Just as he was about to deal with this man in black, a hand suddenly reached out from the side and held the hilt of the sword tightly. The man in black was stunned and looked at the beautiful girl who was holding the long sword tightly. His eyes were filled with doubt. This girl obviously didn't want to meddle in other people's business. Why did she save him now? Yun Luofeng didn't know what the man in black was thinking. Her black eyes gradually fell on the man in robe. "You're from the Tian family?" "That's right." The man in robe frowned and coldly said, "Since you know I'm from the Tian family, why aren't you letting go?" "Sorry." Yun Luofeng's lips slowly raised, forming an evil arc. "The one I'm looking for is your Tian family." Boom! Yun Luofeng's fist suddenly shot out. With a punch, the man in robe's body flew out. Not sure if it was a coincidence or intentional, under Yun Luofeng's punch, the man's head hit the hard mountain rock. Suddenly, blood flowed out, overflowing the mountain stream. The others were scared silly. Only after a long time did they react. Trembling, they pointed at Yun Luofeng and said in horror, You actually dare to attack our Tian family's disciple? You're not afraid of death?" "I've said before, the one I'm looking for is the Tian family." Yun Luofeng glanced at him. "Immediately go back and tell your Tian family that I, Yun Luofeng, am here to find them. Will they choose to obediently hand over the person, or let me wipe out the Tian family?" Yun Luofeng? Hearing these 3 words, the disciples of the Tian family were shocked. None of them went to collect the corpse of the long-robed man. Instead, they hurriedly ran up the mountain. Qingyan Yiling, let's continue. From beginning to end, Yun Luofeng did not even look at the man in black. She continued to walk forward. Wait. The man in black climbed up from the ground and knelt on one knee. "Miss, please accept me. Let me destroy the Tian family with you. As long as you agree to this condition of mine, I am willing to serve you for 3 years." Yun Luofeng's footsteps paused slightly. Without turning his head, he said, "A few disciples of the Tian family have forced you to this degree. What kind of strength do you have to be loyal to me?" Hearing this, the black-clothed man's face flashed with shame. He coughed twice and said, I didn't expect the Tian family to have so many traps. I was seriously injured because I was hit by those traps. Otherwise, those people wouldn't be my opponents. The Tian family is my enemy, but I agree with what he said earlier. A failure is a failure, no matter what the reason is. Chapter 5:16. A failure is a failure, no matter what the reason is. The man in black's heart trembled as he carefully pondered over Yun Luofeng's words. After a while, he suddenly had a feeling of clarity. Lifting his head, he stared deeply at the girl with her back facing him. "Thank you for your guidance, I understand now. In the future, I will not fall into the enemy's trap." The man in black's eyes were filled with determination. "However, I still ask you to accept me. For this, I can give up my life for you." Yun Luofeng finally turned his head and gently raised his eyebrows. "You have a deep grudge against the Tian family?" "It's more than a deep grudge." The man in black's eyes suddenly became cold. "I can't wait to drink their blood, eat their flesh, and dismember their bodies into 1,000 pieces. Miss, as long as you are willing to bring me to the Tian family, my life will belong to you from now on." Yun Luofeng gently rubbed his chin. If you want me to bring you to the Tian family, give me a reason that can convince me. Also, what did the Tian family do to you to make you so angry? That group of bastards, they bullied my master. The man in black clenched his fists. Unfortunately, master can't come to this place. Then I will come in her place. Yun Luofeng stared at the man in black and became silent. Master, did you feel it too? Within his soul, Little Mo's voice echoed, this man's aura is very weak. However, his strength isn't bad. Plus, I can feel that he doesn't have any treasure that can hide his aura. Under normal circumstances, if you follow someone whose strength is lower than yours, you can successfully hide your aura. However, if it's an expert, no matter how you hide, you will be discovered. However, this man in black was different. He was like a natural assassin, able to hide his aura in front of anyone. Even if it's someone stronger than him, he could successfully assassinate them. Master, if I'm not wrong, this man's talent is very special. Right now, it's still daytime. If it's nighttime, perhaps you won't even be able to feel a trace of his aura. Unfortunately, this time, he had accidentally triggered the mechanism of the Tian family and exposed himself. Otherwise, the powerhouses of the Tian family would very likely have died under his assassination. Your name? Yun Luofeng's lips curled up as he asked. The young girl's words delighted the man in black. He removed the black veil from his face, revealing an incomparably handsome face. Long Fei greets master. In order to avenge his master, he was ready to risk everything. As long as he could personally kill those bastards of the Tian family, not to mention selling himself for 3 years, he was even willing to do it for 10 years. Qingyan, bandage his wounds. We'll continue our journey after he recovers. Yes, Mississippi. In a luxurious room, an old man was resting with his eyes closed. Suddenly, a panicked voice was heard hurriedly. Patriarch, something bad has happened, something big has happened. Third Elder's lineage's disciple Tian Yu was killed by Yun Luofeng. What? The old man suddenly opened his eyes. With a bang, he slammed his palm on the wall beside him. Immediately, the entire wall collapsed. That woman actually dared to kill my Tian family's people. Did she really think that there's no one left in the Tian family? He actually allowed her to kill him? Let's go. This clan head will personally kill that woman and let her know the consequences of offending the Tian family. Chapter 517. On top of the towering mountain range, a majestic and imposing mountain gate stood there. The bronze luster seemed particularly heavy under the sun. Yun Luofeng stopped in his tracks. His pitch-black eyes stared at the bronze gate in front of him and coldly ordered, "All of you, get out of my way." Qing Yan and Yi Ling both took 2 steps back. Even though Long Fei was a little confused, he still followed them and took a few steps back. After they had taken a few steps back, a long sword appeared in front of Yun Luofeng. The sword floated in the air and emitted a cold light. The girl's eyes were arrogant and her face was expressionless. Her tone was domineering and there was a sound when she landed. Boom. As soon as she finished speaking, the long sword slashed down from the void and slashed fiercely at the bronze door. In an instant, a crack appeared on the bronze door. Then, the crack grew bigger and bigger, and it spread out. In the end, it suddenly split open. Under Long Fei's shocked gaze, it suddenly split open. Who is so audacious to destroy the gate of the Tian clan? Suddenly, a loud shout came from inside the gate. Not long after, a middle-aged man with a cold expression led a group of people out of the gate. His sharp gaze was directed at Yun Luofeng. "Where is Zhong Ling?" Yun Luofeng asked directly. Tianxian coldly curled the corners of his lips. Zhong Ling is a member of the Tian clan. When did she become acquainted with someone from the secular world like you? You are not qualified to ask a disciple of the Tian clan to come out, even if she is only a child from a branch family. From Tianxuan's point of view, Yun Luofeng did not have the right to associate with a member of the Tian clan. Since that was the case, why did he ask Zhong Ling to come out? Yun Luofeng had long been clear about the snobbish nature of the Tian clan. It could be seen from the harm that Tianya had suffered back then. Therefore, Faced with Tianquan's mockery, Yun Luofeng was unmoved. He continued, I am here to find Zhong Ling. If you are not willing to hand her over, then I can only kill my way in. In an instant, a strong murderous intent ignited on the girl's body. She slightly raised her eyebrows and her arrogant and unruly eyes stared coldly at Tianxian. Under the strong wind, her white dress fluttered even though there was no wind. Her domineering aura could not be ignored. Ha! Tianxian madly laughed twice. I do want to see how are you going to kill your way into my Tian family. Men, take down these people who trespassed into the Tian family. Yes, young master. After Tianquan's words fell, the disciples of the Tian family drew their weapons and charged at Yun Luofeng. At this moment, under the strong wind, the young girl slightly raised her eyebrows and her fine black hair danced in the wind. Her black eyes were as calm as ever, so calm that it made one's heart tremble. Long Fei, finish this battle quickly. Her gaze pierced through the people of the Tian family and landed on the middle-aged man standing in front of the bronze gate. There was a hint of killing intent in her black eyes. Long Fei heard Yun Luofeng's instructions and quickly pulled out his weapon. Like a gust of black wind, he shuttled back and forth in front of the disciples of the Tian family. When the gust of wind blew past, many disciples fell into a pool of blood. Some people didn't even know how they died. This guy's speed is too fast. Tianxian slightly narrowed his eyes and a trace of surprise flashed across his eyes. Moreover, he is like a natural assassin. His aura is hard to capture. If this kind of person belongs to my Tian family, it will definitely make my Tian family stronger. Thinking of this, Tianxian did not bother about the disciples who had fallen to the ground and died. Instead, he made up his mind. Chapter 5:18. After all the disciples of the Tian family had fallen, Long Fei wiped off the bloodstains on his face. His cold gaze gradually turned towards the remaining Sky Xian. Clap, clap, clap. Tianxian's lips curled up as he applauded. Not bad, your strength is not bad. I don't know why you listen to Yun Luofeng, but it's such a waste for you to follow him. If you're willing to pledge allegiance to the Tian family, I can let bygones be bygones. How about it? From Tianxian's point of view, letting bygones be bygones was already very magnanimous. If Yun Luofeng were to reject him, then he wouldn't know what's good for him. However, towards Tianxian's intention to rope him in, Long Fei only sneered in disdain. Tian family? What is that? Why should I pledge allegiance? I came here to flatten your Tian family, yet you want my allegiance? Tianxian's heart was filled with anger as he pointed at Long Fei. You think killing a few Tian family's disciples will prove that you're invincible? You're too naive. There are countless experts in the Tian family. People like you can't fight against them. Expert? Long Fei glanced at Tianxian. You're talking about you? That's right. The middle-aged man raised his head arrogantly. I'm one of the experts in the Tian family. A few years ago, I became a low-level sky spirit warrior. You're just a high-level earth spirit warrior. How can you be my opponent? In the entire Tian family, his talent was not bad. Other than his father who had broken through to the intermediate sky spirit warrior, the elders of the Tian family were only low-level sky spirit warriors. However, he was only in his early 40s. There was a huge difference in age between him and those old farts. When he reaches this age, his achievements will definitely be greater than his father's. This was the reason for his arrogance. In this world, how many people's talent could surpass his? Although Long Fei broke through to the high-level Earth Spirit Warrior at such a young age, many Spirit Warriors are stuck at this stage. Even if they had 10 years, they still wouldn't be able to break through from high-level Earth Spirit Warrior to Sky Spirit Warrior. Therefore, he didn't put the person in front of him in his eyes. As for Yun Luofeng, at the age of 15, she had already reached the level of a low-level Earth Spirit. Her talent was indeed shocking. Unfortunately, she would soon be buried here and no one would remember her achievements in the future. Unfortunately, Tianxian still believed that Yun Luofeng was still an Earth spiritualist. If the matter of the Ning family spread, he would not dare to be so arrogant anymore. Long Fei didn't say much. A black shadow flashed and quickly appeared behind Tianxian. The scimitar in his hand slashed towards the back of Tianxian's neck. His eyes flashed with killing intent. However, Tianxian seemed to have eyes on the back of his head. When Longfei slashed at the back of his neck, he suddenly turned around and waved his hand, sending a ray of light straight at Longfei's chest. Struck by the ray of light, Longfei retreated a few steps. The wound on his chest split open again. Blood bloomed like a rose, staining his robe. Master, should we help? Yi Ling frowned and turned to look at Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng shook his head. No need. He can handle it. He could handle it. These 4 words stunned Yi Ling, and the way she looked at Longfei gradually became a little different. Since Master said so, it meant that this assassin's strength was far from that simple. He must have some trump card in his hands. Chapter 5:19. Kid, weren't you very arrogant earlier on? Tianxian raised his chin arrogantly and spoke sinisterly. Defeat me if you're so capable. Longfei narrowed his eyes and a cold light flashed across his eyes. Without any hesitation, he quickly attacked Tianxian once again. You're still trying the same trick? Tianxian sneered disapprovingly. He instantly turned around and slammed his palm towards the man in front of him. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. However, just as his palm slammed into the man's chest, the man's body suddenly turned into a puff of smoke and disappeared. An afterimage? Tianxian was stunned. Suddenly, he felt that something was amiss. Just as he was about to turn around to block the sudden attack of murderous intent, it was clearly too late. The scimitar slashed across Tianxuan's neck. Blood spurted out and dyed his entire neck red. Kid, it seems that I've underestimated you. Tianxian took a few steps back and touched the blood on the back of his neck. When he saw that his hand was covered in blood, the murderous intent in his eyes intensified. You actually used an afterimage to deceive me and evade my sight. However, there's an obvious difference between a heavenly spirit cultivator and an earth spirit cultivator. Once he had finished speaking, Tianxuan's body rose into the air and stood in midair. In the beginning, he had thought that it would be easy to defeat Longfei. That was why he had not used his flight. However, he never thought that this kid would be so difficult to deal with. Since that was the case, he could only fight him in the air. Tianxian laughed again as he looked down at Longfei. If you're really that capable, let's fight it out in the air. If old Master Yun was here, he would probably curse at Tianxuan's shamelessness. As a heavenly spirit cultivator, he had actually allowed an earth spirit cultivator to fight him in the air? There weren't many people on this mainland who could be this shameless. Longfei silently put his finger to his mouth and whistled. Not long after, the sound of birds chirping could be heard in the air. When everyone looked up, they saw a giant hummingbird flying across the sky. It was as fast as lightning and soon arrived in front of Longfei. Longfei gently rubbed the giant hummingbird's head. His eyes were gentle as he said, "Partner, I'm sorry. I didn't ask you to come with me to the Tian family. Now let us fight together." The great crested bird chirped happily when it heard the man's words. Longfei leapt onto the bird's back and quickly rose into the sky. You asked me to fight with you in the air. Now that I'm here, I wonder if we can start? Longfei's eyes were cold as he stared at Tianxian coldly. Tianxian's expression changed, as if he did not expect Longfei to have a giant crested bird in his hands. But before he could say anything, the giant hummingbird screeched and launched an attack at the profound sky continent. Mistress. Yi Ling was a little surprised. Since Longfei has a flying spiritual beast, why was he chased so miserably back then? Yun Luofeng stared deeply at the battle in the sky and said, "This giant hummingbird isn't very powerful. Even if Yi Ling had summoned it back then, it wouldn't have helped. At most, one more person died. It still couldn't escape the Tian family's pursuit." At that time, Longfei was seriously injured and couldn't fight like he was now. If he had really summoned the giant hummingbird, it would have attracted the heavenly spirit cultivator's pursuit. The outcome would have been the same. Chapter 5:20. Furthermore, spiritual beasts like the giant hummingbird were not very intelligent. It was equivalent to a flying mount and would only listen to its master's orders. It would not take the initiative to save people. Yi Ling nodded in understanding and turned her attention back to the battle in the sky. In the sky, the giant hummingbird's huge body crashed into Xianxia. The bird's cry was deafening and sounded like a thunderclap exploding in his ears. This was the giant hummingbird's ability. Even though it was not very powerful, its cry could disturb the minds of others and cause their ears to ring. Swoosh! At this moment, Long Fei's body left the giant hummingbird's back and appeared behind Xianxia like a bolt of lightning. At this moment, it was too late for Xianxia to use his spiritual energy to block the giant hummingbird's cry. Long Fei's leg fiercely kicked Xianxia's buttocks and kicked his body down from the sky. Immediately after, Long Fei also fell from the sky. His foot stepped tightly on Xianxia's back. With a loud bang, the two of them dug a huge pit in the ground and buried it deep inside. Dust and smoke rose in all directions and covered the entire mountain gate. Xianxia coughed dryly and slowly climbed out of the pit. His gloomy eyes stared coldly at Long Fei's stern face and snorted, "You've caused such a big commotion. You must have alarmed my father and the other elders of the Tian family. When they arrive, you will all die." Actually, Xianxia was already regretting in his heart. He should not have come out to show off. He should have lured these people into the mountain gate and used a trap to kill them. But who knew that Yun Luofeng would have such a person by his side, using the power of an earth spirit to fight him to a standstill? If news of this were to spread, he would definitely lose all face. That's right. In Xianxia's heart, he had only fought to a standstill with Long Fei. He would never admit that he had lost. Xian. Suddenly, an elderly figure appeared in front of him. After hearing this voice, Xianxia's heart was filled with excitement. He hurriedly looked at the elder who had just stepped out of the mountain gate and happily shouted, "Father!" Numerous elders of the Tian clan followed behind the old man. All of them were glaring at Yun Luofeng and the others with furious expressions on their faces. "Lady Yun." The old man nodded at Xianxia before turning to look at Yun Luofeng. He said calmly, "Don't you think you've gone too far? First, you killed my Tian family's men, and now you destroyed my Tian family's mountain gate. You even killed so many disciples. My Tian family did not provoke you, yet you did such a thing. Don't you want to give me an explanation?" Yun Luofeng's lips curled up, and his black eyes contained an evil smile. "I just want to know where Zhonglinger is. Since you guys aren't willing to tell me, then I can only use this method to see her. Zhonglinger is a member of my Tian family. Even if my Tian family wants to kill her, it has nothing to do with you. Aren't you meddling in other people's business?" The old man frowned and said indifferently. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. "She is one of my people, so your Tian family cannot decide whether she lives or dies." "Oomph." The old man coldly snorted. "If that's the case, then let me see your strength." Seeing that the old man was clearly angered, Xianxia's eyes were filled with excitement. Father had finally decided to make a move. Let's see if these people still have the capital to be arrogant. Especially this woman, Yun Luofeng. She would not be able to withstand a single move from her father. Father only needed to use his aura to kill her in a second. Chapter 521. A strong wind rose in front of the mountain gate and the young girl's white robes fluttered in the wind. Her lips curled into a demonic angle as her pitch-black eyes stared straight at the old man in front of her. "All right." She responded to the old man's provocation with only one word. Compared to the old man's aggressive manner, her calmness was much more graceful. "Impudent." The elders of the royal family were enraged. They rubbed their fists and rubbed their palms together, eager to teach this arrogant little girl a lesson. Unfortunately, just as they pulled out their weapons, the old man's cold voice rang in their ears. "All of you, stand down." The old man narrowed his eyes and ordered in a stern voice. When the crowd heard this, they retreated behind the old man despite their unwillingness. "I will personally deal with this little girl." The old man's eyes filled with a stern aura as he stared at the demonic and languid young girl. He was so confident that he did not even pull out his weapon as he charged towards Yun Luofeng with great speed. How fast was a celestial spirit cultivator? By the time the crowd had regained their senses, he was already in front of Yun Luofeng. A swift and fierce wind whistled through the air, aiming straight for the young girl's peerlessly beautiful face. From the beginning, the young girl's eyes had remained calm, so calm that there was not a single ripple in them. However, when the old man's attack was right in front of her, the corners of the young girl's lips curled into an angle. This smile was evil and presumptuous. It was as if a cold and eerie aura had risen from the depths of the earth, causing everyone to tremble in fear. Boom! The old man gathered his thoughts and used all his might to attack Yun Luofeng. His attack was powerful and even the surrounding air froze in an instant. Haha, Yun Luofeng, this is the consequence of bringing someone to provoke the royal family. Xianxia burst into laughter. From what he could see, Yun Luofeng would undoubtedly die under his father's attack. However, his smile soon froze and his eyes widened in shock. He stared in disbelief at Yun Luofeng, who had suddenly disappeared into thin air. His eyes were filled with disbelief. That was right. Just as the old man's swift and fierce attack was about to land, Yun Luofeng suddenly disappeared into thin air. As a result, the wind from his palm slammed into the ancient tree in front of him. Instantly, the tree collapsed with a loud bang and dust filled the sky. Where is she? The elders of the Tian family were also stunned. They couldn't believe that a living person suddenly disappeared just like that. However, right when everyone was extremely bewildered, a timid voice suddenly resounded from nowhere. All of you look, up in the sky. Isn't that Yun Luofeng? Hearing this person's words, everyone couldn't help but raise their heads and look at the azure sky. High up in the sky, the young woman stood with her hands behind her back, her white robes fluttering in the wind. It was as if she was the most beautiful scene in the sky, causing everyone to involuntarily hold their breaths. Heavenly spiritualist? Oh my god, she's actually a sky spirit esper, a 15-year-old. It's such a pity that this woman didn't belong to my Tian family. The elders of the Tian family were stunned. She could fly in the air. What did this mean? This meant that this 15-year-old girl was actually a celestial spirit practitioner. Who in the world could break through to become a heavenly spirit being at the age of 15? Among everyone, the one who was the most shocked was obviously Xianxia. His expression was stiff and his body began to tremble violently. Previously, he even said that for him to be able to become a celestial spirit practitioner at this age was already very good and that no one could be compared to him. Chapter 522. However, he had never expected a 15-year-old girl to possess the power of a celestial spirit practitioner. Xianxia. The old man's face darkened slightly. Didn't you say that Yun Luofeng was only an earth spirit? What's going on? Xianxia smiled bitterly. Father, she was indeed a low-rank earth spiritualist a few months ago. I don't know what's going on either. But the old man swung his palm at Xianxia and coldly said, You don't know? You actually have the nerve to tell me that you don't know? Are you going to tell me that Yun Luofeng broke through from an earth spirit to a celestial spirit in just a few short months? Do you think I'm stupid? Even the reincarnation of a spiritual god would not be able to advance from an earth spiritual being to a heavenly spiritual being in just a few months. Let alone an ordinary human like Yun Luofeng? Therefore, it was no wonder that the old man would suspect Xianxia. I'll settle the score with you after I've dealt with this woman. The old man glanced at Xianxia gloomily as his voice was filled with a trace of coldness. After saying this, he turned to Yun Luofeng and coldly said, Lady Yun, your talent is indeed not bad. If you hadn't killed so many people from my Tian family, I would have the intention to rope you in. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. Even if I didn't kill anyone from the Tian family, I will never join your Tian family. Even without Zhong Linger's matter, it's impossible for her to have any good impression of the Tian family. The reason was because of World's Edge. Although she didn't accept Tianya as her disciple, Tianya could at least be considered an old friend of hers. Thus, why would she join the Tian family that hurt Tianya? Hee little girl, you are indeed very arrogant. Hearing Yun Luofeng's words, the elder laughed in anger. However, I don't know if you'll still be able to say such arrogant words later. Yun Luofeng glanced at Tianya with a smile on his face. I'm in a bit of a rush, so why don't all of your Tian family's heavenly spirit practitioners come up together? That way, I can finish this quickly. Originally, The elder had already thought that Yun Luofeng's performance was arrogant enough, but now he realized that he hadn't understood him well enough. This young girl was arrogant to the point of angering both humans and gods. She's just a low-level celestial spirit being, so what makes her think that she can deal with so many celestial spirit beings on her own? What's more, there was an intermediate heavenly spirit warrior among them. Yun Luofeng, who do you think you are? How dare you not put my Tian family in your eyes? The elders of the Tian family couldn't stand the girl's provocation. Each of them was enraged and pulled out their weapons, glaring at the girl in midair. Yes, your talent is indeed abnormal. However, do you think that you can defeat all the experts of our Tian family with your own strength? Aren't you being too arrogant? Patriarch, since she has already said so, what are we waiting for? If I don't teach her a lesson, she'll forget her place. Tian Xian's eyes darkened. He licked the corner of his mouth as a bloodthirsty glint appeared in his eyes. Father, I also request to fight. He had long wanted to make a move against Yun Luofeng, but after learning of her strength, he was frightened. But who would have thought that this young girl would seek her own death by challenging everyone by herself? Wasn't this a great opportunity for him? This isn't appropriate. Even though the elder's heart was burning with anger, for the sake of his face, he still spoke out to stop the crowd. There are so many of us bullying a little girl. If word gets out, where will the Tian family's face go? Chapter 523. Seeing that the elder had spoken, the crowd couldn't say anything else. They could only stare angrily at Yun Luofeng. Stupid girl, consider yourself lucky. If you're so arrogant next time, don't blame us for being impolite. However, in the face of everyone's words, Yun Luofeng raised the corner of her lips. Between her unruly brows, there was a shocking domineering aura. Don't waste any more time. Come at me all at once. I will finish you all in the time it takes to brew a cup of tea. The girl's tone was indifferent, but her words angered everyone from the Tian family. Master, don't speak up for this woman anymore. She's already so arrogant, we must teach her a lesson. For the sake of morality, our Tian family chose to fight one-on-one. I didn't expect her to be so arrogant. She still dares to say that she'll finish us all in the time it takes to brew a cup of tea? Yun Luofeng shook her head. No, I was wrong. I don't think I'll need the time it takes to brew a cup of tea. Half a cup of tea's time is enough. Boom. This time, it wasn't just the people from the Tian family, even the elder was angered by Yun Luofeng. Good, very good. I've lived for so many years and have met many geniuses, but none of them are as arrogant as you. If you really want us to attack together, then I'll satisfy your request. Men, kill this woman on the spot. Yes, master. Hearing this, the eyes of everyone from the Tian family lit up and they looked at Yun Luofeng sinisterly. Then, everyone's bodies rose into the air and stood around Yun Luofeng, surrounding her in a tight circle. Murderous intent spread from the void and a powerful pressure gradually spread, covering the entire sky. The pressure made it hard for those who weren't strong enough to breathe. Long Fei clenched his fists nervously. His eyes were filled with worry. Will Master be in danger? Even if Yun Luofeng's strength had reached the celestial spirit stage, the people she faced were all celestial spirit stage powerhouses. Especially when there was an intermediate celestial spirit stage powerhouse among them. How could she deal with so many people at once? Don't worry, Qin Yan said with a smile. When you follow Master in the future, you only need to remember one thing. She never fights a battle she's not confident in. Since she said this, she'll definitely be able to do it. You only need to believe in her. You just need to trust her. Qin Yan's words seemed to have magical power, causing Long Fei's heart to slowly regain its calm. Even he didn't know why, but at this moment he actually trusted this formidable young woman just like Qin Yan and Qin Yan. It was as if there was nothing in this world that she could not accomplish. The young girl smiled as she stood in the air. Her pitch-black eyes stared calmly at the people surrounding her. Under the murderous aura of so many people, her expression was as calm as ever. Her white dress fluttered in the wind like a white lotus in full bloom. I'll give you two a handicap. How about that? Arrogant, domineering. Not only did she challenge all of them, but she also declared that she would finish them off in half a cup of tea's time. Now, she even said that she would let them use both hands. How could anyone endure such blatant provocation? Therefore, after Yun Luofeng spoke, everyone from the Yun clan was enraged. They angrily dashed towards her with murderous intent in their eyes. Yun Luofeng's figure flashed, and she dodged the fastest patriarch of the Tian family. Then she charged towards the rest of the elders. With a loud bang, her soul attack landed heavily on the other party's mind. Just as his mind went blank, her leg kicked fiercely towards his body, kicking him down from the sky. Chapter 524. She had used a lot of strength in that kick. Even if the other party wasn't crippled, he would be severely injured and lose the ability to fight. Following that, she used the same trick again. She dodged the Tian family's master's attack and only attacked the low-rank heavenly spiritualist elder. Not long after, all the elders were kicked down from the sky, leaving only the old man and Tian Xian in the sky. Who exactly are you? Tian Xian's body trembled in fear. He bit his pale lips and said, "Why were those elders defeated by you without any resistance? What did you do to them?" Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes and smiled evilly. "Won't you know what I did to them if you try?" Just as the fear in Tianxuan's eyes grew, a loud bang exploded in his mind. Before he could react, a leg fiercely kicked him in the chest. In an instant he felt a burning pain in his internal organs. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his body fell to the ground, unable to hold on any longer. Actually, Yun Luofeng didn't even need to use a soul attack to defeat these people. However, she felt that it was a waste of time, so she wanted to end the battle quickly. The old man's face was slightly pale. His tightly clenched fists trembled slightly as he stared at Yun Luofeng. "Little girl, I've really underestimated you. You can actually injure so many people under my attack." The elder felt very aggrieved, because after so many attacks, not a single one landed on Yun Luofeng's body. Furthermore, she had defeated so many of the Tian clan's elders under his attacks. This was clearly a slap to his face. At the thought of this, the old man felt a little pain on his cheeks, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. "You're the only one left." Yun Luofeng's gaze gradually turned towards the old man. He slowly walked towards him. "In order to save time, I dealt with the other trash first. Now it's your turn." Her voice was neither loud nor soft, but it came down from the sky. Hearing the girl's words, the elders of the Tian family were furious, but they had no words to refute. Who asked so many of them to be unable to deal with a young girl? "Hee," the old man sneered. "I'm an intermediate heavenly spiritualist. Even if I can't kill you, you can't kill me. How about this? Didn't you say that you would defeat us in half a cup of tea's time? There's still a bit of time left. If you can't defeat me in this time, then you'll lose." The old man paused, then continued. "If you lose, then kneel down and kowtow a few times and become a servant of the Tian family. You of the Tian family." His voice drifted along the mountain path, causing Longfei to widen his eyes. To widen them of his eyes. Wasn't this old man a bit too of him to him of Tian of the to the of the Tian? Yun Luofeng glanced at the old man. "I, Yun Luofeng, never suffer a loss. To of long of the time. He was Yun of Yun. I of to of we've already wasted a lot of time talking. If you don't hurry up, half a cup of tea's time will be up." Chapter 525. Yun Luofeng smiled. "When I said never to lose, I mean I will never accept a one-sided bet. If I defeat you within the time limit, what will you pay?" "Ha," the old man laughed out loud. His eyebrows were full of confidence. "I'm at your disposal. I'm not interested in you." Yun Luofeng gently touched his chin. "Why don't you let everyone in the Tian family crawl from the top of the mountain to the foot of the mountain? With every step, you have to humiliate yourself. Of course, the more humiliating the words, the better. If the humiliation isn't strong enough, then you all have to start all over again." "You?" The old man's face changed. He viciously said, "Isn't this a bit too ruthless?" "This is only one aspect." Yun Luofeng smiled evilly. "The second point is that I want Zhonglinger to appear in one piece." If she loses a single hair, I will kill one person. The old man's face became uglier. His eyes flashed with darkness. Yun Luofeng, I only made one request. What right do you have to make 2 requests? This is too unfair. Yun Luofeng blinked his eyes. You also know it's unfair? If you think it's unfair, then we can change the way of the bet until one side loses. How about it? Plus, the second request I made isn't the bet. I'm just informing you all. If she wanted to kill someone, the Tian family wouldn't be able to stop her. Thus, this sentence was just to inform the Tian family and not the bet. The old man sneered, Yun Luofeng, you're really timid. You want me to change the way of the bet. Unfortunately, I won't do as you wish. I agree to your bet. Now, it's almost half a cup of tea's time. I want to see what you're going to use to defeat me. Even if Yun Luofeng defeated all the elders of the Tian family in a short period of time, it didn't mean she could defeat him in the following period of time. As for him, he only needed to dodge her technique. Try to delay for half a cup of tea's time. Also, don't forget, you said before that you don't need to use your hands to fight. The old man shamelessly added another sentence. Long Fei was angered by this old man. No wonder this old man could do such a thing in the past. Such shameless behavior was really incomparable. However, as the person involved, Yun Luofeng, smiled and said, Sure. Looking at the young girl's confident eyes, the old man suddenly had a bad feeling in his heart. However, the arrow was knocked on the bowstring, and he had no choice but to release it. He could not go back on his word. Therefore, he gritted his teeth and said, If that's the case, then let's start the battle now. What? After saying that, the old man did not fight Yun Luofeng head-on. Instead, he chose to turn around and leave, fleeing into the distance. At the same time, Yun Luofeng's figure rapidly chased after the old man like a bolt of lightning. Seeing that the young girl was about to catch up to him, the old man hurriedly turned around and a sword light suddenly streaked across the void, rushing towards the young girl. Yun Luofeng's body moved to the side and she dodged this sword light. Because of this action, she once again widened the distance between her and the old man. Hee. The old man glanced at Yun Luofeng, who had caught up to them once again. The corners of his lips curled into a mocking smile. Little girl, you're still too inexperienced to accept my wager so easily. I'm definitely going to win this bet. Is that so? Just as he finished speaking, a white silhouette suddenly landed before him and blocked his way. Chapter 526. The elder was stunned as he stared at Yun Luofeng in astonishment. His face was filled with disbelief. How did you get in front of me? This woman had been a distance away from him just now. How had she appeared in front of him without him noticing? Yun Luofeng stared at the elder's astonished gaze and shrugged her shoulders. I was just messing with you earlier. She had given him hope and plunged him into despair. This was Yun Luofeng's revenge against the elder. Boom! The soul attack struck the elder's mind once again. However, the elder had already entered the intermediate stage of a heavenly spirit warrior after all. Hence, he recovered in the blink of an eye. However, in the blink of an eye, Yun Luofeng's leg had already landed fiercely on the elder's face, causing him to stumble back a few steps. Sparks flew in the air from the friction. Yun Luofeng. The elder's face was ashen. You know how to attack the soul? This time, he had been too careless. He never thought that Yun Luofeng would not only be so fast, but also know how to attack the soul. No wonder so many people from the Tian family had been kicked out in the blink of an eye. Yun Luofeng did not answer the elder's question. Her figure flashed and she appeared behind the elder once again. In the instant that the old man turned around, another soul attack was unleashed. Then her leg kicked the old man's waist, causing him to howl in pain. What followed next was a one-sided trampling. Soul attacks were godly cheaters in the first place. Unless the elder's strength had reached the advanced stage of a heavenly spirit warrior, he would not be able to resist her soul attack. Unfortunately, because he was not strong enough, he would be hit every time Yun Luofeng unleashed her soul attack. It's about time. Yun Luofeng looked at the sky and no longer continued to trample on him. She directly kicked the elder's body into the ground. With a loud bang, the elder's body smashed into the ground, creating a huge pit. After the battle, countless deep pits had appeared on the mountain path. Each of the pits had a person lying in it, wailing in agony. Why? The old man dug his fingers into the soil as he glared angrily at the young girl who was slowly descending from the sky. He gritted his teeth and asked, "Why do you have to torture me like this when you've dealt with them all in one blow?" At this moment, the elder understood that Yun Luofeng could defeat him in an instant with that soul attack. However, she did not do so. Instead, she was toying with him like a cat toying with a mouse. Yun Luofeng stood in front of the old man and looked down at him. For one person, before coming to the Tian family, he had already investigated everyone in the Tian family. This old man was the Tian family's patriarch and also Tianya's biological younger brother. Yet, back then, he did something that harmed Tianya. That was the reason why she was tormenting him like this. Her goal was to help Tianya vent his anger. Long Fei looked at Yun Luofeng with a face of worship. He felt that he did not follow the wrong person this time. Even if his master found out, he would still encourage him to continue following behind her. I've already completed the bet on time. Yun Luofeng lifted his chin slightly. Now, shouldn't you fulfill your end of the bargain and make everyone in the Tian family crawl down the mountain on their knees? Suddenly, the old man laughed. His smile was filled with murderous intent as he said word by word, "Dream on. I'd rather die than suffer such humiliation. Furthermore, you can't kill me." Chapter 527. Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes as she stared at the old man's confident face. The corners of her lips curled into an angle. "Are you sure?" Her 3 words were powerful and resonant, slowly echoing on the mountain path that was full of holes. The old man's eyes darkened a bit. He propped himself up from the big pit and coldly said, "Yun Luofeng, if you still want Zhonglinger's life, then kneel down and beg me. Maybe I will let him go." A complacent smile hung on his elderly face as he stared arrogantly at Yun Luofeng. Indeed, upon hearing the old man's words, Yun Luofeng, who had been slowly approaching him, stopped in her tracks and stared deeply at him. The old man burst into laughter. "So what if you've won? In the end, don't you still have to listen to my orders? I'll give you one chance. Kneel before me and I will immediately return Zhonglinger to you." To him, he no longer cared about face. He only wanted to humiliate the young girl before him to quell the anger in his heart. Yun Luofeng did not speak and stared at him silently. Her dark eyes were calm and without the slightest ripple of emotion. No one could tell what she was thinking. "What do you think? Isn't this a good deal? All you need to do is kowtow a few times and you'll get a life back. No matter how you look at it, you've made a profit." Upon hearing the old man's words, the young girl's brows finally moved. She slowly raised her hand and with a whoosh, a long sword appeared out of thin air and charged towards the old man. The old man's reaction was relatively quick and he quickly moved his body to the side, narrowly dodging the attack. Even so, his shoulder was still cut by the long sword and fresh blood flowed out. "Yun Luofeng, it seems that you really don't care about Zhonglinger's life. Since that's the case, just you wait to collect her corpse." The old man spat viciously. However, just as he finished speaking, Yun Luofeng flicked her finger and a black pill shot out from her fingertip. Just as the old man was about to close his mouth, it shot into it. Caught off guard, the old man swallowed a mouthful of saliva and swallowed the black pill as well. "You've plotted against me." The old man's expression changed and he roared angrily. Yun Luofeng gently raised his brows and stared at the old man's furious face with a forced smile. Her gaze completely angered the old man. He coldly snorted and said, "Fine, since you insist on acting recklessly, then I will immediately send out the signal flare. After seeing my signal flare, the people from the Tian family will immediately kill Zhonglinger." After saying that, the old man's gaze shifted. "However, I have always been magnanimous. If you give me the antidote and kowtow to me, I will still let her go." Let Zhonglinger off? How could this be? If it weren't for that lowly girl, Yun Luofeng wouldn't have been attracted here. Therefore, after humiliating Yun Luofeng, he would immediately send someone to kill Zhonglinger. Yun Luofeng glanced at the old man and said indifferently, "What I just gave you is the body-tearing and bone-shattering pill. After taking this pill, I will make you taste the feeling of having your body torn to pieces. Even if you can endure this pain, it doesn't matter. I can make your soul scatter." At this point, the girl paused and continued, "Exchanging your soul for Zhonglinger's life is not a loss for her." "What do you mean by a threat?" Yun Luofeng had used it to the point of perfection. "You want to kill Zhonglinger?" "Sure. If she loses her life, she still has the chance to be reincarnated. However, I won't even give you this chance. This way, Zhonglinger would not be at a loss." Chapter 528. The old man's eyes finally revealed a look of horror. He couldn't help but take a few steps back as he looked at Yun Luofeng with an ugly expression. "Are you trying to scare me?" Yun Luofeng raised the corner of his lips. "Whether I'm trying to scare you or not, you'll know soon enough." After the young girl finished speaking, the old man's body suddenly felt a sharp pain. The pain was like a stone slab constantly rubbing against his body. It was so painful that he couldn't extricate himself. At the same time, a dark green flame appeared around him. This flame burned his body to the point that even his soul felt like it was being torn apart. Soul fire. It was actually soul fire. Just how powerful was this young girl's soul? Even the soul fire could be mobilized. He believed that if this continued, his soul would definitely scatter and he would never be able to reincarnate. "Stop, quickly stop." The old man cried out mournfully. "I promise you, I'll return Zhonglinger to you. Quickly stop." "Why should I believe you?" Yun Luofeng's eyebrows slightly raised. "Send someone to bring Long Fei to find Zhonglinger. After I see Zhonglinger, I'll decide your life and death. If she's even the slightest bit injured, I'll let you experience the feeling of your soul scattering." The old man's heart suddenly became anxious. He secretly prayed that Zhonglinger's father didn't use any torture on her. Otherwise, he was afraid that his soul would really scatter and scatter. "Tianxian." The old man gritted his teeth. "Bring him to Tianzhu's residence." "Yes, father." Tianxian's eyes were gloomy. Seeing his own father suffer a crushing defeat at the hands of Yun Luofeng, he didn't dare to have any thoughts of resistance. He could only bring Long Fei inside the door. With Tianxian's lead, those traps were nothing. Long Fei very smoothly entered the Tian family's residence. At this time, in a remote courtyard, Tianzhu was holding a stick in his hand and fiercely hitting the young girl's snow-white skin. The young girl's clothes had already been torn to pieces. Her messy hair fell behind her. Her body was full of shocking stick marks. Her pale face was overflowing with beads of sweat. She bit her bloodless lips and welcomed Tianzhu's staff without making a sound. "Rebellious girl, I regretted letting your mother give birth to a rebellious girl like you. You're going to drive me crazy." Tianzhu fiercely scolded Zhonglinger, as if he wanted to vent all the humiliation he had suffered outside on her. "If you obediently listen to the patriarch, I will also rise with you, and I won't have to be bullied by those direct descendants. Let me tell you, you are my daughter. Without me, there would be no you. Whatever I tell you to do, you must do it. You are not allowed to disobey." Zhonglinger sneered and closed her eyes. Her pale face showed that she was not afraid of death. She will never listen to the order of the Tian family. In this life, the only one who could make her submit was Yun Luofeng alone. Seeing Zhonglinger's stubborn look, Tianzhu became even angrier. He scooped up some salt water and poured it on Zhonglinger. The salt water seeped into her damaged skin, causing her to feel a sharp pain. She gasped in pain, and her petite body trembled. "Zhonglinger, if you want to join the Tian family's genealogy, then go and seduce young Master Tianyu." Tianyu was the #1 person in the younger generation of the Tian family. He was also the patriarch's grandson. Therefore, Tianzhu asked Zhonglinger to seduce Tianyu. Chapter 529. I've already said that I have no interest in your Tian family. I also don't want to change my surname to Tian. Zhonglinger suddenly opened her eyes and angrily turned around to stare coldly at Tianzhu. "You're courting death." Hearing this, Tianzhu became even angrier. He swung his rod down and with a bang, a bright red mark was left on Zhonglinger's back. Zhong Linger spat out a mouthful of blood. Her internal organs felt a sharp pain. She sneered and said, "No matter how you hit me, I will not listen to you." Impudent. Zhong Linger, if it wasn't for your looks, I wouldn't have let you seduce young Master Tianyu. With your identity, to be young Master Tianyu's concubine, you really have to burn incense. Zhong Linger sneered in her heart and retorted, "If I follow Master, I can be a legitimate wife. But if I enter the Tian family, I can only be a concubine? Wife and concubine, it is clear who is more valuable. I really don't know if I should call you stupid or stupid. Being a concubine of a noble young master is better than being a servant's wife. Don't you understand this? I, Zhong Linger, would rather be a poor man's wife than a rich man's concubine. I don't need to live a luxurious life, I just don't need to worry about food and clothing." Zhong Linger supported her body and stood up. Her body was a bit shaky as she leaned against the ancient tree behind her. Her bright eyes were filled with determination. In life, to be able to grow old together with one person is far better than living a luxurious life. Long Fei had just arrived when he heard Zhong Linger's words. Even though her voice was very weak, in Long Fei's ears, it was as clear as an aureole. It was extremely beautiful. Better to be a poor man's wife than a rich man's concubine. On this continent where the strong preyed on the weak, how many people would have such a noble character? Therefore, Zhong Linger's words made Long Fei involuntarily feel admiration for this stubborn girl. Just as he was about to speak, he suddenly saw Zhong Linger's body fall to the ground. He was stunned for a moment. Without thinking, he quickly rushed forward and caught the delicate body that was about to fall. Zhong Linger's eyelashes trembled. Her expression was weak. Her body was covered with crisscross scars, making her look extremely weak. Long Fei's heart faintly ignited with anger. His cold eyes turned to Tianzhu. "For you." When Tianzhu saw Long Fei appear, he couldn't help but frown. "Don't you know that this is the Tian family? How dare you barge in without permission?" Long Fei sneered. He picked up Zhong Linger's body and coldly said, "She is your daughter. Not only did you not raise her for a day, you even tormented her like this. What is the difference between a person like you and a beast?" On the way to the Tian family, Qing Yan and the rest had told Long Fei about the purpose of their trip. As such, Long Fei was well aware of the relationship between Zhong Linger and the Tian family. Even if Tianzhu didn't like Zhong Linger, her body still had his blood. How could he bear to treat her like this? "She is my daughter. If I want to beat her, I will beat her. If I want to kill her, I will kill her. Who do you think you are? What right do you have to interfere in my business? Since I gave her life, then no matter how I treat her, she is not allowed to resist." Long Fei hugged Zhong Linger's body tightly and coldly looked at Tianzhu. "I'm afraid you can't decide this woman's life. Plus, don't count on the Tian family to save you. Right now, they can't even protect themselves." What? Tianzhu was stunned for a moment. He didn't understand what Long Fei meant. The other party's fist landed on his body and blasted him away. Chapter 530. Pucci. Tianzhu spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground with a pale face. Then, Long Fei took a large step forward, grabbed his clothes, and quickly walked out of the courtyard. Outside the mountain gate, it was silent. It was so quiet that even the sound of the wind could be heard clearly. Yun Luofeng crossed his arms and leaned against a tree. He quietly listened to the mournful wails of the old man. The Tian family elder did not dare to say a word, afraid that Yun Luofeng's gaze would be attracted to him and he would suffer the same punishment as the patriarch. At this moment, the mountain gate was once again opened. Long Fei, who was holding Zhong Linger in one hand and Tianzhu in the other, suddenly appeared in front of everyone. Yun Luofeng's face turned cold with Long Fei's appearance. His body surged with a cold aura and his black eyes revealed a cold, murderous intent. "It's over." After seeing Zhong Linger's body full of scars, the old man's heart suddenly sank. His face was slightly frightened and he secretly cursed Tianzhu in his heart. This son of a bitch, he actually beat Zhong Linger up like this? If it was a normal day, it would be fine. But now, Zhong Linger's life was related to his. According to Yun Luofeng, if Zhong Linger was even the slightest bit injured, His soul would fly away and scatter. Patriarch, elder, save me. Tianzhu saw the old man trapped in the flames. He did not know what had happened and hurriedly cried out. But before he could finish speaking, a snow-white figure swiftly tore through the horizon and appeared before him. The young girl did not look at him. She quickly took out a spirit herb from her sleeve and handed it to Long Fei. Feed it to her. Long Fei was stunned. How do you feed it? Chew it. After the young girl finished speaking, Long Fei's face became very embarrassed. However, he still took the spirit herb from Yun Luofeng and slowly chewed it. After handing the spirit herb to Long Fei, Yun Luofeng's gaze gradually turned to Tianzhu. He slightly raised his eyebrows. Her injuries were caused by you? From beginning to end, Tianzhu did not think that he was wrong. Zhong Linger's life was given by him. So what if he took it back? What right did these people have to be nosy? So what if I did it? She is my daughter. Bang! Without waiting for Tianzhu to finish his sentence, Yun Luofeng grabbed his clothes tightly and ruthlessly smashed him down from above. Tianzhu's buttocks were split in half, and his internal organs were in pain. He was a little angry and wanted to say something, but he was interrupted by the girl's arrogant voice. I have said this before. If she has any trace of injury, I will kill a member of the Tian family. Now that she was seriously injured, she could only bury the entire Tian family with her. And now, let's start with you. As if sensing the girl's strong murderous intent, Tianzhu finally felt fear. He clutched his aching chest and said, Master, he won't let you have your way. Yun Luofeng sneered, he's just a loser. His soul will scatter very soon. It was only then that Tianzhu saw the old man's face, which was almost distorted by the flames. His heart suddenly trembled. As the patriarch of an intermediate celestial spirit being, he was defeated by this young girl? How was this possible? Master, Long Fei looked at Yun Luofeng and said, when I went to save her just now, I saw a basin of salt water in the courtyard. Zhong Linger's body also smelled of salt, so I boldly guessed that this beast must have beaten Zhong Linger and used the salt water to torture her. Chapter 5:31. As soon as Long Fei finished speaking, a cold aura came from the soles of Tianzhu's feet and penetrated into his heart. It was so cold that his entire body shivered. He looked up in horror at the girl with cold eyes in front of him. Qin Yan Yiling. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows slightly and ordered in a cold voice, I want him to pay back double for how he treated Zhong Linger. You will handle this matter. It was too easy for this kind of person who was worse than a beast. She would never let him die so easily. Yes, miss. Qin Yan and Yi Ling understood Yun Luofeng's meaning. They cupped their fists and walked towards Tianzhu, who was lying on the ground. Don't come over. When Tianzhu saw Yun Luofeng approaching him, the horror in his eyes intensified. He was just about to call for help when Qin Yan leaped and landed a foot on Tianzhu's body. Tianzhu almost vomited blood from her foot and his face was deathly pale. But this was not enough. Just as Tianzhu's heart was trembling more and more, Qin Yan took out a dagger from somewhere and placed it on Tianzhu's face. She smiled sinisterly and said, Master, where do you think I should start? Should he cut off his nose or his ears first? That's right, there's also salt water. Yi Lung, help me prepare the salt water. This fellow had tortured Zhong Linger to such a state. She would make her beg for life, but she would not be able to die. Yi Lung looked at Qin Yan lovingly and turned to walk in front of Tianxian. His cold eyes flashed coldly as he said, If you don't want to end up like him, prepare a basin of salt water for me in half an incense stick's time. Tianxian was startled. He looked at Tianzhu, who was being stepped on by Qin Yan, and finally made up his mind to walk towards the mountain gate. Tianzhu's heart turned completely cold. He did not know what had happened that the young master would listen to these people's orders. Half an incense stick's time is about right. Qin Yan narrowed her eyes and looked at Tianzhu with a smile. I think it's better to cut off your hand first. I wonder which hand did you use to hurt Zhong Linger? Qin Yan had been by Yun Luofeng's side for the longest time, so she had learned some of the young girl's ruthlessness. Her delicate face was full of smiles, her curved eyes were like crescent moons, bright and moving. But it was from the mouth of this seemingly harmless little servant girl that such cruel words came out of her mouth. Tianzhu was so scared that his face turned pale. He didn't dare to speak, but his trembling body revealed the fear in his heart. Since you won't tell me, I'll chop off both of your arms. The dagger in Qin Yan's hand gradually moved to Tianzhu's arm. The smile on her face became increasingly cruel. No! Tianzhu's eyes widened in horror. Just as he shouted, the dagger in Qin Yan's hand fell. Although the dagger was small, it was very sharp. In an instant, the man's arm was chopped off. Fresh blood splattered and dyed Qin Yan's clothes red. Tianzhu, on the other hand, fainted on the spot from the intense pain. Enough! The old man, who was trapped in the fire of the soul, could not stand it anymore. He shouted and said with a trembling voice, Yun Luofeng, even if Tianzhu is wrong, don't you think that your servant girl is too ruthless? He only used a stick to hit Zhonglinger, but your servant girl chopped off one of his arms. Such a cruel and merciless person is not fit to be called a woman. Yun Luofeng curled his lips slightly. If I hadn't come to find her, I don't know how your Tian family would have mistreated her. So, I won't have any mercy for the people of the Tian family. How you hurt her, I'll make you pay 100-fold.